Yeah, it's same something's life.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, I actually have to push the talk. That's weird. Let me just send out a tweet and then I'll stop it.
Yeah, I think you just gotta unmute your microphone, haven't you? Uh, we're having some technical error. Everybody's microphone is muted except me.
Say that again?
Oh no, your mics are all pushed to talk for some reason.
Yeah.
Why? Why
I
is
could
it?
just straight up unmute.
Oh, there we go.
All right, what game is this from?
This is Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. This is the remix known as Thunderstruck.
Gotcha. I'm gonna pause
I
it.
wonder how loud it is.
It's
Okay.
it's as loud as the YouTube video is, which is pretty freaking loud.
Yeah, that is extremely loud.
Okay, so that was our attempt at an intro.
That was
Yeah.
our attempt at an intro. It was a terrible intro, but that's okay.
That's good.
Um,
You gotta start somewhere.
that's right. Got to get there.
Woo.
Woo! It can't be perfect every time. Oh, woo! Literally.
Yeah.
Woo.
Literally, woo.
God.
Oh, come on, it's going to happen at some point because I was mega pissed off earlier today.
I absolutely love literally woo. That is brilliant. Actually, though, when you say woo, all I can think about is that episode of Futurama where Bender binges and becomes astronomically fat, and then he dies up on stage.
Woo!
Yeah, that episode. And every time they go to, they're like, I think he's dead. And everybody's like, no, we just heard him wooing, and it turned out to be his fat rolls.
Oh.
Just air escaping from his fat rolls. Just push him. He just goes woo.
I've just got the song stuck in my head, Only You, but just only woo can fabricate those trolls. Only woo.
God.
Nobody ever listens to us. You singing.
Well, I might as well get myself a small little platform, for my launch my career. It's all built upon apparently hate.
So,
Misogyny.
misogynies. Let's talk about literally woo.
Okay, I was hoping we could save that because I'm half dead still, but
Okay,
yeah,
we'll save literally woo because you just woke up from a nap, haven't you?
yeah, yeah.
All right. So, what else do we want to talk about? If not literally woo, we can talk about the escapist pieces.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's do that.
the smart place to drop. The smart place to start.
It's kind of chronological.
You're right. It is kind of chronological, isn't it? One thing that stuck out the most for me on those articles, believe it or not, is it actually felt more than 50% quote unquote on Gamergate's side, right? It felt like a good 75% of them were either I see what they're saying on our side or full blown we support Gamergate. And I wasn't expecting that many devs to be like that.
Yeah, it for me it shot about at least 50-50, if not 60-40 to Gamergate.
And that surprised me, to be honest.
It didn't surprise me, but the one thing that did, which was the big thing, is that now this is what I was surprised about, and I know I'm going to get flack for this, was saying that Roguestar was one of the people that was interviewed for it.
I would agree. Actually, I was rather surprised that Archon and Tito chose to interview Roguestar. If only because Archon seemed smart enough to realize that that would have caught him a fuck ton of flack, which it did.
Oh, and it did.
What was his content?
It
What was he going on about
well,
in
I
the
mean,
interview?
his felt more like a big personal vendetta.
And it
Like
is
it,
for him, though.
yeah, it is a vendetta for him, and that's what the read kind of felt like. It felt like it was his vendetta put to words.
Against Lee Alexander and Gamasutra.
hmm Which, to be fair, I feel for the guy. I feel for the fact that he was kind of shoved off to the side, but at the same time, he was in the beginning, at least. I think he was one of the more prominent voices in Gamergate, and now that he's kind of been pushed forward, he's taking advantage of that to further his own vendetta.
Yes, yes. And that's actually one of maybe, and I don't want to say problems with Roguestar, because I like Roguestar as a person, right? He's a nice guy.
Oh yeah, I got no problem with the person.
That's one of the issues a lot of people have with him and what he's doing is it feels like, and it's almost apparent to almost anybody who looks, that he is not hijacking, but using the movement as a way to get back at Lee. You know, because he's got a voice there and the movement's already there, it's now his chance to be vocal about it. Which isn't bad in and of itself.
But and I made these comments in Skype to you in Skype earlier. I think the day that all this, or at least like the day before this all kind of dropped, it was I jokingly made the statement, the cult of Roguestar. Well, I mean, it seems like that. I mean, he's got so many fervent people behind him that any time that you say anything that is not absolutely pro him, you are instantly a shill and dismissed.
Yeah, it's almost like the anti-Gamergaters on our own side, right?
Yeah.
It's almost, that's what it feels like, right? Like,
Oh, yeah, I came across those son of a bitches on Friday as well. I got called. I was basically questioning the thunderclap. I was just like asking, basically, with the thunderclap, are we just going to be, caught in our own echo chamber and tweeting to ourselves, essentially? Because, as we all know, our personal sort of followers have gone up quite a lot, and most of our, groups contain Gamergators now. So are we just going to be sending the message to Gamergators? And then I was also focusing on that GamerX thing at the time, and I was like saying, and I had a tweet, and it was getting traction, and I was saying, we should acknowledge that these people have been bullied into this, ironically by Brianna Wu. And I got told that I was off topic. I should, if I didn't repost the thunderclap, that I was anti-Gamergate, all shit like that. And I was like, okay, what the fuck?
This is why I made that statement I did last night, where I said everybody needs to take time and pump your fucking brakes.
Well, that's exactly what some people need to do, right? The thunderclap, yes, was actually somewhat an echo chamber because a lot of us follow each other. You know what I mean? But there were people like Christina Summers and Milo and Adam Baldwin. You know what I mean? Who have way more followers outside of Gamergate. So
Yeah.
there was, in Total Biscuit and Boogie. You know what I mean? So there was some plus to that. But the whole Roguestar thing, Archon made a comment about how if you're gonna, the anonymous devs, one of them being X-Bro and then the other one, I forget their name. And he basically said, if you're gonna trust me blindly on them, you need to trust me on why I removed Roguestars. And I retweeted that, and then I got a bunch of people on my timeline talking about how Archon's a coward and he's manipulative and he's doing shady business. And it's like, it doesn't work like that. What Archon said is 100% truthful. If you can trust him on one thing, you need to trust him on the other.
Absolutely.
Without it, you're hypocritical, and you know better than the other side. And that just makes my blood boil.
Archon is one of the strongest supporters we have right now, with the biggest voice in the games journalism industry. I mean, this man doesn't just work for a games journalism industry. He works at Defy Media, which is a multimedia company. He just happened to found The Escapist, and
Well, he's actually SVP of Defy.
Yeah, he's senior VP of Defy, and he's also the founder of The Escapist, and a lot of the people that he's had have at least, if not outright supported, like I'd say Janelle Bonanno falls on the support side. that they at least allow the discussion to continue. I mean, Tito, as much as he is kind of sitting on the fence more but leaning more towards the anti side, he at least acknowledges that the discussion should take place.
Yes. And I think that's strictly because of Archon, right? I think it's not strictly because Tito was letting it happen before Archon made the apology, but I think that's just how Archon runs the business, and runs the Escapists. You don't have to censor anybody. No matter how much you disagree with them, they still have the right to talk, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's one thing that really pissed me off was everybody jumping on Archon. It made me feel like we were no better than the anti-Gamergators.
Well, that's what they've been. That's what most of the argument about today has been. Is that both sides are just basically far too extreme, and they're going to end up isolating themselves and continue their shouting match. I mean, did you see that the Polygon senior reporter Owen Good got blasted today by anti-GGers as well?
No, why?
I missed that.
He got taken. Oh, sorry.
I saw him. I saw some stuff going his way, but I didn't see what side it was going on.
Oh, basically, well, this is the tweet anyway that he retweeted just before I go into it. He said, "Militant, you're with us or against us. Groupthink is dangerous no matter how noble the cause or how demonic the opponent," basically. And I think that's been the message of this weekend. It was... people wouldn't believe how many anti-Gamergate people I've blocked and vice versa. You people deserve one another. Basically, they jumped on him for saying something that wasn't,
pro anti.
Yeah, it was just basically like, hang on a second, blah blah blah, and they just jumped all over him. If my net wasn't so shit, I'll try and pull up.
Speaking of tweets. Did you see John McIntosh's tweet about, you talk about corruption in the game journalism? What about the military? And he posted a picture of a fucking camo Xbox controller.
That dude needs to just fuck off and die in a hole. I mean, no offense to the guy, but just, no actual harm intended to come to the guy. But seriously, dude, you are more tinfoil hatty than some of us are.
His whole argument was, the U.S. government is corrupting video games because there's a fucking camo controller. I mean, what the fuck? I have a real hard time following that logic. Like, a real fucking hard time.
Yeah, Mookie in the chat, you're right. They want to polarize us just so they can tear us down, because essentially that was what our side was having. That was absolutely different than theirs. We allowed dissent. We allowed people to say, I agree with some points, but not all of what you're saying here. I mean, that was the brilliance of it when it first started. You could disagree without being called a shill, but now it's, if you disagree, you are a shill, period.
Exactly.
Now we're polarized.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We're not helping ourselves with that. And trying to get some people on the Gamergate side to understand it is as bad as trying to get some people on the anti-Gamergate side to understand how asinine they sound. And it's unfortunate. What's happening is the same thing that fucking happened to the Tea Party, right? We're eating ourselves alive, basically.
Yeah. Well, it came to the point basically though that there's going to be no need for an argument sooner or later, because at the moment the other side have devalued us so much. We're no longer even human in their eyes. We're subhuman to a point that they won't even engage us. So and the fact that we're trying to tweet out that we've had the exact same carbon copy abuse, almost to the letter. Lizzie on our side, she received exactly the same threats that Brianna Wu got. I think they were in exactly the same context as well.
And no
one gives a shit.
Not just her, but GG Feminist received the exact same threats as well.
I know.
And the threats were very, very similar to what Anita got, shoving a metal object up somebody's twat.
Did you say twat?
I said twat.
I said twat.
Yeah, it's stuck. It's stuck.
Trying to prove that American English isn't 100% shit.
But they've all been the same. It's either the same person. You know my feeling, and this is going to be unfair because it's probably not them. But my feeling is this is GNAA having fun.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you on that because GNAA does this kind of shit.
This is
They
what
don't give a crap, and you know, it's easy to poke the bear on this one.
Oh, it's so easy, right? And my understanding, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe the information has changed, and we're actually moving into Woo. So actually, let's not even do that yet. Another thing I wanted to pull up is, did you guys see My Little Ponies 3 posted this picture on Twitter? Let me post the link in the Hangout chat. I can put it in the YouTube chat if you guys want to see it. Where it's a picture of these two different users tweeting out anti-Gamergate stuff, and their messages are exactly the same, letter for letter, exactly the same. So tonight, Brianna Wu has been doxxed and threatened. Before tonight, I'd only seen her as retweets in my feed, and then letter for letter, exactly the same on the other tweets.
If you don't mind, I'll throw that up in capture.
Oh
so
yeah.
we can show it.
Didn't we attribute that to bots though, or what was it?
We're trying to figure out how to use this capture. Hangout
Yeah.
capture.
And like screen cap. How can I screen share?
Wait,
Live, everybody. There it is.
Yeah,
screen share.
we're doing it live. Fuck
we have
it.
no idea what we're doing. Is this showing the picture, or is it just because all I see is a gray screen?
Is
Here
this
it
a
is.
picture of your ass or something?
Oh,
There it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not.
is that not
No,
the?
it's a blank screen.
Hold on. There it
Ah,
is.
there we go.
Yeah.
They're exactly the same.
Yeah, I'm sorry I can't. Well, maybe I can blow it up a little bit. Let's see.
Can you guys
we go.
actually watching the stream? Can you see that, or do I have to share it?
We're gonna have to give him a few seconds because we lag behind. But
Yeah, I know. But I don't know if I have to give you presenter rights or if you just present.
yeah, Too Happy. Yeah, it was the ones that mentioned Jim Sterling.
Yeah. So here, then it's not staying up. Here, let me do this.
Yeah, there we go. There we go.
There
I
we
see
go.
the stream.
Yep.
And I've zoomed in on it now. So.
All right, cool. Yeah, there we go. They're the ones that mentioned Jim Sterling, but what's crazy is they are 100% the same.
And not just that. Look at the feeds. The two feeds are the exact same tweets.
Yeah. Letter for letter. I don't know. They could be bots, but I clicked off of it.
That's fine. I stopped sharing.
Didn't someone click that they were bots earlier on?
Somebody said, or I know Kane in our Skype chat had said that's the great thing about botnets. But is there any way to prove they're bots? And if they are, why is the other side using bots?
Because it's PR, man. We are literally immersed in a PR war here that we can't possibly begin to win at the current state that it's in, because they have got the traction that her retweet got was over 7,000, and it's still the top story at the moment on the Gamergate thing, and it will stick there. And I found some of the comments that Owen Good got. Owen Good posted what happened to my safe space to say what I feel about the subject, basically, and he got destroyed. And literally who pops up? Not literally Woo. Literally who pops up? What on earth about the last 2 months of watching women get doxxed, harassed, and threatened made you think Twitter was safe? And it's like, yeah, you brought this shit with you. And literally they jumped on him, and all the rainbow hair comes out, you know. Oh wait, they've been sending nude photos of me to colleagues. You got your own fucking saggy tits out back then.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
seriously.
once again, I mean, it's not. This is not like Jennifer Lawrence or The Fappening or anything like that. These weren't stolen from iCloud or someone's phone. These were actual photos taken. There's a watermark in the fucking corner saying where these photos came from.
Yes, it's not like it was some private photo shoot she did for her boyfriend or girlfriend or her five guys, right? Like it was, she did it for money, and they were on the fucking internet.
Look at the here we go. You trivialize the waves of abuse put onto women, not entitled to space where people can't call you an asshole. Oh, somebody said today that basically somebody wasn't a rape victim, because they decided to be a gamergator at the same time, and they were like, wow, you've literally just shamed rape victims. Any rape victims that are on the Gamergate hashtag aren't real. And it's like, are you mad? Are you people out?
GG, asshole, potato out of 10, invalid argument.
The thing is, hold on while I cough out my lung. They can pretty much say and do whatever they want because they know there's not much media that will report on it, and any media that does, they'll just bully them down, right? They'll have their freaking Nazi Ian run a story, and First Person Scholar, and Critical Distance, and Gawker, and Vox, and Polygon. They'll have everybody there in bed with run a story discrediting the person who reported on it. You know what I mean? So,
but this just shows that
by anybody.
This just shows if you aren't fucking towing the company line, the Hugbox company line, then they jump on you, they mob you.
Oh, absolutely, because everybody who worked for one of those kind of major magazines, it was, if you looked at their Twitter feed when the Escapist dropped their article, they all shat on the Escapist for posting that.
Yep. And did you see Brad Wardell retweeting everything people were saying about him? He basically came out and said, you know what, fuck you guys. You tell me I don't get any shit, I'm going to retweet everything, retweet just some stuff that people talk about me. And he must have retweeted about 100 tweets of people shitting all over him, shitting on the Escapist, going, I can't believe you put Brad Wardell on your website, that known sexist misogynist. And it's like, yeah, that known sexist misogynist where the accuser had to publicly apologize. The liar, right? And I'm not trying to say what happened or didn't happen, right? I don't know. I wasn't there. All I know is the accuser had to apologize, but that never enters into their mind, right? That's just another patriarchy. A man made her apologize.
Yeah. Just 1 second, guys. Be right back.
Okay. That was the stupidest thing ever. If
what?
If Kotaku and Polygon would have just said, yep, or especially even Game Essential would have said, nah, we fucked up with what we've been doing in the past, we apologize, we're going to try to do better in the future, and we're just going to move forward and forget all this stuff ever happened. We'd been fine.
And nobody would have been the wiser to half the shit that goes on. But the problem is, instead of apologizing, they attack.
They chose to shoot themselves in the foot.
Yep. They've created this culture war. I think they wanted this culture war. I think they over I don't know the word I want.
Well, no, the problem with what they did was, instead of just disagreeing and going after and just, trying to show examples and try to actually be a reputable organization, they just chose the nuclear option and attacked their consumer base.
Yeah, and they thought it would work for whatever reason. I can't figure out why they thought this would work.
Well, because here was the thing and this is personally what I think, if they chose the nuclear option, what they thought was going to happen was the people who were actually misogynistic and the people who were actually bad would come out in force and say, no, it's all misandry and blah, 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 and all that stuff, and end up just basically eating ourselves alive. Well, that didn't happen. The exact opposite, as a matter of fact, happened.
Well, yeah, and I can't figure out why they... Yeah, an apology would happen the day I ride a robot unicorn on Mars.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Mookie brought up a good point, actually, and this is one I've been trumpeting since day fucking one. The anti-GG behavior really does look like what Scientology does with its authors. When they attack hard and attack loud. It's brutal. Yeah, it's exactly what Scientology does.
Does that mean we are the 2014 Project Chanology?
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, any movement like this, but every week that this goes on, and every week that somebody pushes the abuse button, like literally woo, it pushes us to the fringe, basically, where only the problem with our movement is our message is very sporadic and very hard to get across, basically, to people that are literally just passing through the tag. It gets, and this is why I was mainly objecting about the thunderclap, because the links that we provided on the thunderclap were to no mainstream media outlet that's covered the story. The stuff that's covering our story isn't your big CNNs. It's not Fox or anything like that. It's not on that level yet with them either. But they've got op-eds on very big, websites, and so the person passing through is going to look at our tinfoil, hack journos, putting our side across, and then look at the other side and just go, oh look, these have got reputable websites and they look all quite flashy. I haven't got anything invested, but I'm going to throw a tweet out there that says fuck Gamergate, basically. We haven't got that original point of contact, which and when people do post that, we do go, here, look at these links and inform yourself. But they're gone. They're already gone, and they've already formed their opinion, and they won't be back, basically. And this is where Gamergate's falling down. We've got a shit media relations, basically. We haven't got a clear and concise message because we're covering so much at the moment. And so we.
Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. No, carry on.
No, I was interrupting you. You carry on.
No. And the whole thing is just gonna literally, basically, we are fighting a PR battle against a louder megaphone. Even though we've got one voice when it suits us, we haven't got enough to build a critical mass, basically, of people that are just one-click viewers, basically, who will form an opinion. That they're on the spot, say it once, and then never come back, basically. But they will go out into the real world and go, oh, have you seen this Gamergate? These people are fighting against, corruption. These SJWs, they're taking over, and they won't go out and do that. They'll go out and they'll go, look, these people are clearly feminist, anti-feminist and hate women. Because the loudest message out there is the one that people can easily jump on. It's a woman, it's a family, they've been threatened, and the first thing they went to do is to tell Twitter. I can't literally, if I got fucking threatened, I'd go dark, for a bit. But no, these people use it as a weapon.
It
is a fucking badge of honor.
Yep, it's a way to make money. But before we get on to that, because I have a lot to say about that, I do want to say one problem I see, and this started way back in the very early days, is everybody was quick to say this isn't about SJWs, but the longer this goes on, the more apparent it becomes to at least me that this is in some ways a culture war. That this is about SJWs. Yes, it's also about ethics and whatnot, but it's about ethics because of the SJW, right? That social justice, cultural hegemony, and I'll use the fucking slur. I don't care. The cultural Marxism, right? This is, in my mind, all about that. And everybody was quick to say it's not about that in day one, right? Because the antis were coming out and saying, why you got to attack SJWs, guys? I thought it was about journalism. And everybody was quick to, play along. You know what I mean? To play their game, to prove we had a point. And now we can't even make that argument anymore.
Well, yeah, because it's essentially been against them since day one because they were the ones that were yelling at us. I mean, it's always been that primarily. It's not been it's not been like Pole's crusade against all social justice warriors. No, it was basically on our side. It was just a crusade to shut them up and make them listen, but they won't.
Yeah.
That's kind of the difference that's been going with this. Ours has been more to educate and try to bring them over to our side. And when that fails, we just leave them and let them, throw a tantrum like the little kids they are would. But instead of that, we played along and we fell into the way they acted and said, "No, it's not about you." Well, then that just gave them the onus to be louder.
Exactly. You said what I was trying to say a lot better. And it is about them. I don't know. And I'm not putting on my a poll hat because I'm not a poller. But in some ways, to me, this is going to, if it's not a larger issue, it's not yet. But this will become a larger issue just because this has been going on for a very, very long time, right? Like, we're in the age of everybody gets a trophy. We're in the age of where feelings, like Christina Summers said, right? We're in the age of self-confidence and personal feelings over the ability to fucking survive. You know what I mean?
Not so much self-confidence, but self-esteem.
Self-esteem. There you go. That's what I wanted to say. We've allowed them, or they have somehow, somebody's allowed them to push that narrative that self-esteem is more important than the ability to survive. And Gamergate to me is just a small extension of that, right? Or an extension of that in one small niche community, and I wouldn't be surprised if it blows up elsewhere. And I think comics are next, for my personal feelings.
Comics has needed this. Comics has needed something like this for years because they have bowed so quickly to that kind of narrative.
Yes, and part of the problem is, though, I was actually talking with a bunch of people down at my lake house about this today. And they don't get it, right? They say, why do you care? Why do you care? What do you mean by Marxism? Why do you care that they're pushing for greater equality? And it's people who don't frequent the internet, they don't get it, right? And they go, oh, well, if it's just happening on the internet, who cares? And it's like, okay,
it spills over.
So to you, the internet is this thing that sits out there by itself. But the people who've grown up in the technology age, the internet is not something that just sits out there by itself, right? Like, the internet's an extension of fucking humanity at this point. You know what I mean? And it's slowly spilling into our schools. But the people who could matter, right? The people who watch CNN and Fox News, right? The ones whose voices we do want, it's hard to get them to see why it matters. Because to them, they don't either A, get it, or B, well, that's just the internet. Who cares about the internet? Right? Like, they don't get
it. Yeah, so you're fighting who cares, and they're missing the point that because you're not caring, the messages are getting through. You're letting the more prominent message basically distract you. It's like it's a feint. It's like a ruse. It's like he's punching with one hand and then punching you in the balls the next. He's bobbing and weaving, and the message is getting through basically, and it's fucking hurting at the moment. And it's not just games. It's comics. Look how much shit the DC universe has taken over the last few years.
Well, look back 3 weeks and look how much shit Marvel got for posting that limited edition cover for a spider
just Maddox just fucking
ripped that one apart, and and as much as sometimes Maddox rubs me the wrong way, he is absolutely right on this issue. The only people making it sexual are the people who are uncomfortable with themselves.
Yes, exactly. And that's something I saw on Twitter a lot. Last night, actually, was Mundane Matt was sex shaming people. And in my response to every single person who said that was, if sex is shameful, I don't want to be fucking honorable. Right? Like, if sex is a shameful thing, I'll wear that with a badge of fucking honor. You know what I mean? Like, how do you sex shame somebody? They had sex, so therefore they're shameful? I don't understand that.
I think it was either sex shaming or that would be because you had sex, you should be shameful. And I'm like, no.
because you had sex, you should be relaxed and sleeping.
Or having a cigarette, whichever one you prefer.
Yeah, or having a cigarette. You should not feel ashamed. And every time somebody said that, and I saw that a lot last night, all I could imagine was that guy who just jerked off into his sock and was crying in the corner, right? Because he felt so bad. You know what I mean?
Oh, what was it? Shit. We have to talk about something else that happened this week, too. And
Well,
that was one directly from the mouth themselves. Gawker Media posted an article as well.
I actually don't see Gawker because I don't go there. But before we get to that, one thing I wanted to bring up because Cerberus brought up the PR campaign, and this goes back to GamerX, and me arguing with people who were calling me a shill in GamerX, and I'm sitting here trying to tell people, as I'm being called a shill, that they suck at PR and they need to play the PR game, right? Like, GamerX asked Gamergate specifically to leave them out of it. The best PR move you can make is to not tag them, leave them out of it, and just watch the other side bully the fuck out of them. And everybody's saying, well, why? They made a comment. I'm gonna let them know how I feel. No, they asked you to leave them out of it. Be a decent human being, leave them out of it, and let the other side bully the fuck out of them.
Well, I tweeted it. I tweeted it once and then got jumped on because I wasn't supporting the Thunderfoot apparently with every fucking waking minute of my, or Thunderclap or whatever the fuck it is. Yeah. Everything's beginning with thunder these days.
I know. Well, the Thunderclap actually was rather awesome just because it helped us trend again. So in some way it did have an effect.
I could have been asleep for this. What was the Thunderclap?
So Thunderclap is a service where you get people on Twitter, and actually this is the other piece you missed, Cerberus, is it's not just Twitter. But it's like this website where you sign up to have your message thunderclapped. So every time you sign up, or every time somebody signs up, it adds their followers from Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter.
It's like a giant spam, basically.
And then once the countdown's over, the thunderclap happens, and it sends a tweet and a Facebook message and a YouTube message and a post on LinkedIn and all these places about whatever that thing is you signed up for, in this case, Gamergate. And we ended up having a reach of like 1.8 million people. I don't think all of them were Gamergaters. So that Gamergate message got out to 1.8 million different people. Maybe not 1.8 million, maybe 1 million, right? Because figure 800,000 of them were just us circle jerking each other, right?
Right.
But it got out to 1 million people about supporting Gamergate.
I mean, I wouldn't have done. I didn't do it via my Facebook at all because if there's one thing I've learned is keeping this separate basically, which is really annoying. Because I would like people. But I just know that the way that people are inclined at the moment, because I saw a post today that also made me angry. I'm not going to talk about it, but it's along the sort of similar veins in a different kind of, in a different kind of sphere, nerdosphere, basically.
See, I don't make much effort to make myself private. I did unlink my Facebook from my Kickstarter. And the reason for that, and this is actually rather funny, and I haven't talked about it at all because I don't need people to give me money, but somebody emailed my boss saying how they should fire me for hating on women. And my boss's response was to order me a new MacBook.
Nice.
But in the process, he said he totally got that my Twitter account and my personal life were 100% separate, right? Like, I've done my best to keep them separate. But on my Kickstarter, I was linked to my Facebook, and he said, for your own safety, maybe you should unlink that. So I unlinked it. But he kind of laughed at it because he knows me and my wife rather well, and said, oh, by the way, this is a good time for me to tell you I'm buying you a new MacBook. So,
Yep, but remember, to everybody else, you're not a human being.
Now you're just another sock puppet.
I'm just a sock puppet that has a job, apparently, that they can email. And I don't understand why they would come at me, right? Like, they come at my bank account, they come at my job. I'm a nobody. You know what I mean? Like, why me? Maybe that's why me, right? Come at the nobody, then I'm not gonna talk about it, or nobody's gonna listen. You know what I mean?
Well, we've done a fantastic job in the movement of drowning out other people's voices as well. So
Yeah, don't get me started on that. That pisses me off. Trying to get anybody, any of these big name people, and I understand they're busy and they have thousands and hundreds of thousands of followers, and right, but like trying to get like a mundane Nat or an not Eric Kane because he has agreed to talk when he's free, but trying to get anybody, Jade Fox, any of these people to come on, they don't want to if you don't have a giant voice, and it's like that's not going to help anybody. You know what I mean? You can't just continue to circle jerk within your circle of fame. You know, Hollywood.
yeah, we've built our own celebrity cabal, and we'll get crucified for it eventually.
Oh yeah, we will. It's coming eventually.
Oh, no doubt. You know, especially because of the cabal we built. Right? IA's cool, Monday Matt's cool, but King of Paul, Roguestar, they're kind of easy targets. You know what I mean?
I just can't believe he got drunk on a stream.
Oh, he got fucking hammered.
Did you listen?
I didn't listen, but I saw Jade Fox just tweeting up a storm about IA. You need to slap King of Pole. He is absolutely fucking hammered.
It's just going to be ammunition, right?
Yeah.
That's going to be used. Because he's got a voice that people listen to.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Roguestar's got a new Operation Recon. Why do we Operation everything?
It's easy to latch on to. Makes it sound cool.
Okay.
It makes it sound fucking nutty. Makes it sound like military fringe nutcases.
It does, but it also has that appeal of it sounds cool, I can get behind this.
Yeah, but we don't think about how it feels PR-wise to our opposition. You know, we feed them enough shit as it is. Do we have to feed them that as well? I don't know. I get angry at our logic as a group, basically. To continue to try, you know, we do have fun, but it's like, what is our end goal here? We either continue, you know, blasting it all with piss and having a laugh, or and we look like clowns, or we try and fight this organized. We can't have it both ways, really.
Yeah, well, that's why my response lately has been to follow Irrelevant Gamer, or Gamer Irrelevant, I think is his actual tag.
Yeah.
Irrelevant Megaphone or whatever. But anyways, he DM'd me about Operation Pony, which is anytime anybody says anything, just respond with a My Little Pony meme. Hugs. So I have been all about Operation Pony. Kill him with hugs. And I'm not a fucking brony in any way, shape, or form. My daughter loves that show. I can't stand it. But man, I will kill him with hugs. So that's now been my response. To kill him with hugs. And I do it to our side too, because people get stupid.
Oh, did you guys also see how? And this is kind of going back to something earlier. Did you see how quickly Lee Alexander hopped on the Alex Lifshitz bandwagon?
No, but what was I did you see that Storify? He said Tito and Archon got those interviews off of, basically ripped them off of 4chan.
No.
That's like the biggest load of shit I've ever heard in my life.
No, that's where Archon went to get the IRC logs. I know that for a fact, but
I'm sure that's where he went to get the IRC logs.
He flat out went into he went, from what I heard near the beginning, he went into the IRC stuff and got it. Like, I know that I've seen that somewhere before. That he went straight into the IRC and requested it from the people in the IRC, the logs, and then wrote one of the first articles that the Escapists did about Gamergate.
Then why is Alex Lifshitz even still relevant? He's bonkers. He's literally mad as three cats in a sack.
But he's getting traction is the bad thing.
Yeah.
They've got the better PR. They can make him sound credible to the bigger press.
Let me see where I can find this. I saw it on the Storify. Archon, GM at Escapist sourced them all from 4chan. Is the claim he makes. Not shocking considering Archon salutes Gamergate and sourced his devs from 4chan. So much for bias. Gamergate ethics. This is from the Quinspiracy. It's not bias if they agree with us. It's not corruption if they go after our enemies. Talks about Milo.
Because this was the thing that Lee Alexander said. I have a lot of concerns an unethical website doing shit journalism, and this link to the Alex Lifshitz post.
So wait, they're calling Defy Media basically unethical.
Yeah. Well, it was specifically the Escapist. They called the Escapist period unethical.
Wow. They followed Defy Media's ethical standards. So by implying the Escapist is unethical, you're implying Defy Media is unethical.
I mean, and then you look at some of the people who said things about it, like Jim Sterling even said, who works for the Escapist, said, I don't know how the Escapist article helps outside of pouring more gasoline on a fire that needed none of it. Well, that's just them trying to get tweets to support their side, and there's a bunch of just anti-tweets about it.
See, I can't even believe Alex posted this because all it shows is them attacking the fuck out of Greg Tito.
Hey, we got eight viewers in here.
I know.
Ooh.
That's
our lower end record. The upper end is what, 12?
Yeah, 12.
And now it's dropped to 7. No.
Well, people read because YouTube live stream sucks.
Yeah, if we could do it on Twitch, that would be good. But I mean,
I don't think I could do it on Twitch because if we're not verified, we don't have an option basically to lower the quality. And my internet is fucking bullshit.
I'm gonna.
So,
and you have to be playing a game on Twitch to get on there.
Hey, look, now 9. I'm gonna be moving us to Twitch Hitbox once their Mac client's done. If we keep
that's good.
Longer, because I would like to keep this up longer. But I'm on a fucking Mac, so.
Also, I want to point out that just rereading Archon's tweets from last night is just it shows how mad he is.
Archon was straight pissed.
Yeah, like this is one from yesterday. It's stunning allegations that at Archon is a shill for views of Alexander McCree. Are they colluding? Now he's just getting funny.
Yeah, because he's pissed. Archon is straight pissed. I actually would love to get him to come on and talk to us because we're rather moderate. I'm sure he's far too busy for that. But
it would be wonderful if we could get him in here, definitely, because I think he would appreciate this kind of middle of the road discussion.
Though he did retweet. This is actually rather funny. I don't know why he retweeted this. Somebody said, let me see if I can read this tweet here. I'm against harassment only of people I know. Fuck the rest of y'all. Lizzie F620 said that.
I think that was... No, that was in a chain of stuff that someone else said it to, because the one that he actually tweeted, the one that I'm seeing on his feed, he retweeted.
If your empathy only extends as far as your politics, you don't have empathy, you have an agenda.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes better sense. But why did Lizzie say that? That doesn't sound like something Lizzie would say. Unless I'm missing something here.
Well, there's pictures attached to it as well.
Oh, did I not see those pictures?
And I'll read these.
Oh, yeah, okay, so, alright, okay, I get it now. He's basically
I don't get it.
He's basically TLDRing, the pictures.
Yeah.
This is in a conversation between her and Playstar Rocker from Liz. Have you spoken out about the threats about GG Feminist, Milk Candy, J Fox, or myself, or many other pro-GGers have gotten? And the reply was no, because I don't know them. I'm shocked about the stuff that Gamergates have. I'm shocked about the stuff that Gamergaters have did to people I adore. Please don't be a part of it. It's basically a series of tweets about a guy named Playstar Rocker saying that doxing's not happening to me, but it's happening to just my friends, and therefore it's important. And it was a reply basically to those posts. It's like, it's happening to people I care about, therefore it's important, versus it's not happening to people, it's happening to people I don't care about or have disdain for, therefore I don't give a shit.
I need to step back for a second. Archon, so yeah, earlier yesterday, Archon was getting pissed at Gamergate. Not getting pissed at, but poking fun at them for giving him a hard time. But later in the day, it seems like he understands who's attacking him. Because he says things like irony because I'm right-leaning, certain cohorts are planning to punish me by poaching the many left-leaning writers that work here.
Yes.
If I were the person I'm accused of being, I wouldn't employ any left-leaning writers at all, and poaching them wouldn't be punishment. Next, I would be punished with a letter-writing campaign to my advertisers, letting them know I've allowed my game site to be filled with gamers.
Yeah, this is just poking fun at now the anti-side.
Yeah. It's true that gamers are dead, however, as a 20th level dead necromancer, I transformed them into undead and then sent them out to eat the brains. This is funny. Sadly,
Yeah.
my full undead minions have not reported finding any brains to eat. No brains could be found at all.
Dude's a beast. He's still in our camp.
Yeah, he totally went off on social justice bullshit. Okay. That's good to see, because for a while there he was getting rather upset with people calling him a shill and all that.
And I can't blame him for getting upset with that. I really can't. But
To those of you appalled that I used an F-bomb in a tweet, my quota is 1 per 43,000 words. It'll be a while before you see another. I love Archon.
yeah.
Though I've had the pleasure of actually speaking with him through direct messages and all. He's a very fucking smart guy. But I wanted to bring up another point now. But now I don't remember.
Well, I do have something kind of interesting to point out this week. There was a very interesting video on The Escapist this week that sort of struck down the middle once again.
It did.
Which is good to see. Which is for anybody out there who's fans of No Right Answer on The Escapist. Chris did one. And it was struck down the middle, but it wasn't a Gamergate one, because he flat out said, we're not going to talk about Gamergate, we're not going to do all that, we're going to answer the question, are gamers dead? And the answer overwhelming was, no, they're not.
But they also agreed that the gaming culture has changed or needs to change, or not that it needs to change, but that games have changed to be more inclusive, which is what I thought they wanted.
Yeah. I mean, and don't get me wrong, gaming can always be more inclusive, period. Any organization can be more inclusive, period.
Yes.
But,
Though, no, finish your thought.
You can't force inclusion like they want to do.
No, and that's where I was going to talk about next. And I apologize if I sound like an asshole or if there's any hint of MRA in me, because I'm not that guy. However, I was talking to my brother yesterday, who is not so much of a social justice warrior, but he will fully admit he would buy into socialism instead of democracy, right? That makes my brother sound like maybe a bad person, but he's not. But anyways, his belief is these social justice warriors are doing more harm to women than they are helping them. And his thought process is, if he owned a business, he would not hire a woman who, at this point in the game, within Gamergate, who identifies as a feminist, just because he'd be so afraid of them causing a nightmare within his company. Is it a little scary of a thought?
I get that. I get that logic absolutely. I mean, it's that kind of logic I can understand going by it because 99% of people, period, wouldn't cause a stir. They would just work there. They'd shut up. They'd do their job. They'd be just like everybody else. But there's always that 1% who's going to be yelling and screaming and crazy. Whether it's a hardcore third wave feminist, whether it's a fat acceptance activist, whether it's a male rights activist, it's gonna happen.
Oh, no doubt. The problem is they've polarized themselves right now, right?
Yeah.
And this is somebody who's not involved in Gamergate, though Gamergate has made him aware of these social justice warriors, where he's now at the point where he says, if this is what socialism is, one, it won't work, right? Fuck that, if these guys are for socialism. But two, I would never hire a woman who is any way, shape, or form connected to these people, because they've done nothing but prove they will cause destruction. They will leave destruction in their wake no matter where they are.
Yeah, that's the problem with the modern social justice warrior movement. They want to lead. They want to adopt the tactic of if it doesn't work, burn it to the ground.
Yes, and anybody who follows me on Twitter has probably seen me saying a lot lately that I will never support an ideology that places burning down over raising up. The minute you burn something down to try and fix a problem, all you do is create chaos, right? And history has done nothing but prove that. What you need to do is raise up structures to support whatever it is you're trying to do, not burn everything to the ground.
I just don't look at life like these people do, and that's the scariest thing. It's like I don't see these issues as being wholly important. I don't see why these people think like the smallest things can oppress them. When there's real oppression out there, when there's real, misery, and that's my problem. I mean, I totally get where that sort of thing comes from. That I try to avoid people like that in my life. I sit next to a social justice warrior at work, and I have 5 days of it, of a guy that thinks he's on the moral high ground above everybody else, that thinks, and in the end, I just want things that he's protesting against just to fall on their ass, just out of spite, because he's so smug and superior about how, and it's like. And it's like their brains are completely programmed in a different kind of way to try and just. I literally, I can't actually put words to form here. It's just fucking sort of irritating beyond words. I mean, I don't know if any one of you actually works with a social justice warrior.
I don't.
Somebody you can.
I don't, and even at my university, I don't see any.
Well, you guys are lucky. I see them at the university I teach at, but I don't work with any, and I don't go to the university anymore. I do all my shit online, so I don't have to deal with them.
Well, you also have to consider the university I'm going to. It's a university in the southern portion of America, and it is it's technically a religious institution.
Yeah, so you wouldn't deal with that shit.
No, I see mostly right wing.
So one thing I want to point out, and maybe this is a little plugging of my friend who wrote this, is I've befriended a social justice warrior, at least somebody who once identified as a social justice warrior, who has recently, in some ways, switched sides into the point that you were trying to make, or that you were making, Cerberus. I'm going to read something he said, or that he wrote, because I think it sums everything up rather wonderfully. I've also, in this process, learned that there is a better word for... Oh, no, hold on. I'm going to start over. I have these suspicions I have of ideologies and systems come from the fact that I myself have been fucked over by them, led astray, deceived, and, as some might suggest, traumatized. I've also, in this process, learned that there is a better word for trauma, less defined by my victimhood, which we are all victims to some degree, and more appropriately described as life. We can be empowered by our stories, or we can use them as a means for division and disdain. And that's pretty much That to me reads like, and I've seen this transformation firsthand, but that's somebody who's realized, you know what? Maybe I'm not a fuck. Maybe I'm just fucking alive. You know what I mean? And that's what they can't grasp. Their own fuck ups aren't everybody else around them. They're them. That's fucking.
Totally. That is the one thing that they cannot do. They cannot accept blame or accept the fact that maybe their fuck up is because of something they did. It's the patriarchy, or it's it's some kind of outside oppressive government, or it's some kind of, it's just some, or maybe it's feminism, or well, no, maybe it's, I already said this, or the patriarchy. It's something else. It's not me, and it's not life.
It's quite funny because
Uh,
you say that, and the guy at work, his fuck ups are always something else. There's always an excuse. There is always literally, a reason why he has failed beyond his own ineptitude. And it just boils down to a microcosm thing, and it is utterly infuriating to work with.
I couldn't do it, so God bless your soul. The other
Thanks, man.
point, another point he makes that I actually think I just want to read it just because I think it sums up how we all feel, at least to some degree. Feminists can support or at least sympathize with Gamergate without feeling like they betrayed their cause. Again, I'm a supporter of gender equality. I think the patriarchy is a real thing, though better described as a classist hierarchy. I just don't see the world through a lens that contorts everything into being how people are a victim of it. The world is a complicated place. Should I check my privilege? Question mark. First and foremost, let's check our bias. And I think that's pretty much how we all feel about it, right? The world's not perfect, but you don't need to see the world through a lens of oppression.
No, because not everything's oppression. Sometimes it's just the randomness of the universe.
Exactly. Though to me, it speaks volumes when you have people like Literally Who and Literally Woo and Robot
Wee.
Parking and all these other fucking people who say things like, fuck meritocracy. Meritocracy needs to die. Like, that just... Isn't that what the world should be?
They're just, honestly, they're just, with that, they are just mad that their shit cannot live up to the meritocracy.
Exactly.
Their stuff can't stand on its own merit, and it is therefore pushed to the side. Well, they say, no, it can't, no, it shouldn't be, it should be, rather than just it should be accepted on its own merits, it should be accepted as gospel above all because it's different. No, if it's different and shit, it's still shit.
Exactly. Which is why they want to change the gaming media. You know what I mean? They want an industry where their stuff can live up to its merits, right? And being different is a meritable thing. So what do they have to do for that to happen? They've got to change the consumer base. You guys, I'm gonna.
Somebody's just stolen my Literally Woo. That's depressing.
Oh shit.
Oh well, they'll gain traction.
Yeah, which is fine.
Have fun.
But I will say that that was the thing about Depression Quest. It was, even if none of the stuff happened with Nathan Grayson, and none of the stuff would have happened with all that, even though we can't prove it, we'll still kind of say that I'm just entertaining the concept here. Even if we can't prove that it happened, Depression Quest is still a shit game. No matter, anyway, it's still a shit graphic novel. I've seen Homestuck, and I know how hard that is to say. Homestuck is a better graphic novel than Depression Quest was. And now just wait for the flack to come on me, because I know it's coming, because I said Homestuck was better than something else.
I've actually never played Homestuck, so I can't speak to that. But I will say the fact that Depression Quest was raised up to the point where it was heralded as like Game of the Year just because it was different is not what I fucking want from our games media at all.
Where it won an award over Papers, Please.
Which is bullshit. Papers, Please is a brilliant game.
It is.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, I made a tweet last night, and some people have direct messaged me about how mean it was. Let me see if I can find it because I want your views on it. Okay, so my tweet was read Tim of Legend 2014. Fans shat on too many. Fans money blown 3 million. Indicate awards 1. Gamergate's lack of surprise priceless. How many of us are surprised that Tim Schafer won Indicate's grand jury award?
Not at all.
Oh, I hate Tim Schafer. So you know, he made Grim Fandango, and I can love him for that. But aside from that, he squandered a massive budget, and then had the audacity to ask for more.
Yeah, because he was the thing that brought Kickstarter to my attention, because he asked for what, a couple $100,000 on Kickstarter to make Broken Age, wasn't it?
Yeah, 400.
He got 400,000. He got 3 million, and he still came in over budget. Like, dude, how can you fuck that up?
Well, what he did was what a lot of people on Kickstarter do is they game the system. So, as I once attempted a Kickstarter, though I was far too early within the life cycle of my game to be successful, I do have a lot of information about Kickstarter, a lot that my publisher has compiled. And one thing that is totally apparent in Kickstarter is when you do a Kickstarter, if you need, let's say 100,000, ask for 25,000. Because it's a much easier target to hit, and more people, almost like 100% more, will donate money if they think you're going to be successful or are already successful. So what Tim did was he gamed people. By asking for less money, he was gaming the system. Is essentially what he did.
But then his argument is that with more money, it widen the scope of the projects. But then, at what point do you say, okay, we've got this much money, we have a responsibility at least to put out a proper product?
The thing is, with that much money, and I'm a developer. I've been a developer for many, many years. I've started writing code when I was 10, right? With that much money, what you do is you deliver the base product, or you get the base product done, and then you can slowly add features because you've got all this back money. You don't just totally explode your scope right there on the spot because you have it, because that's one sure way to fucking fail. And if that's what he did, he mismanaged. More than likely, he just fucking stole money.
He's fiscally irresponsible, and people just like, yeah, that's fine.
Well, and then the real outrage came when people were getting booted out of the Broken Age Kickstarter, because these are people that have paid in money to have access to these features, and they have a community manager kicking them out.
What? I didn't know about that.
I think it was Broken Age. It could have been some other game.
Are you talking about Mighty Number 9?
Mighty Number 9, that was it. Yeah.
I think that's the one.
That talked about the death, and it still makes my blood boil.
That's bullshit. That should have never happened. Number one, these are not just gamers or even customers. At this point, they are investors, and you have a responsibility to your investors to treat them as investors, period.
The problem with that is Kickstarter has been so successful because they don't bill it as investing. They bill it as buying a product early. So that the people who back you, people tend to view of them as just consumers.
Which they're not.
They're not, but most people use that as they're out for shitting on them. Well, no, you didn't invest in me. You just bought stuff from me. Basically, is usually their argument.
Yeah, and I mean that's the language, and that's the language Kickstarter wrote it in. It was you're not an investor, you're a consumer. Or you're an end user consumer.
Now, a question I want to ask that neither of us I'm sure can answer is, when did being a consumer become a terrible thing?
I don't know. Maybe all these people work in retail as a second job and are secretly pissed off at customers.
But I would venture to say most of them do. They probably have shit service jobs because they need to survive because their games are shit. But doesn't it feel like being a consumer is like now a bad thing, right? Like people look down at you now for being a consumer.
Being games.
Yeah, you're part of the system.
Yeah.
A part of
You're
this.
perpetuating the system by your choices and your and how you're spending money, and you're not spending money on them, so you're an asshole.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
That's essentially it. To be honest, I don't play many indie games. I think a lot of indie games are fucking awful, and I wouldn't put money towards them. Um, I and but that's my choice. But apparently that means that because I buy Call of Duty maybe once every year, my opinion doesn't really count.
Let's see.
But there we go. That's your
What?
inclusiveness.
Yeah, because let me take a look at actually what I've got as far as indie games on my Steam account, because my Origin obviously doesn't have any.
I have some. I actually have some really good indie games on my PlayStation, though some of them maybe aren't indie. Oh fuck, what is it? Not Vortex. What's the name of that shooter space ship type shooter? Is it Vortex 2? Vortex times 2?
I couldn't tell you, but let me just run through my list right quick because I have mine up. I've got Bastion, which is an amazing kind of top-down beat 'em up.
Oh my god, Bastion was like the best game ever.
Democracy 3, which is a very interesting twist on the government sim. Europa Universalis, The Forest, which is a really good indie horror survival game. FTL, Game Dev Tycoon, Hearts of Iron, Kerbal Space Program, which is a phenomenal indie game.
Yeah, that looks quite enjoyable. This. Let me just tell you, this is the type of gamer that I am. I'm just turning and looking at my collection now. So I got a limited edition Halo Reach sitting on the side of the corner there. I got. I'll just reel off some games. Okay, these are PlayStation 2 games that still go out. Robotech Battlecry, SSX, Wild Arms 3, Unlimited Saga. Moving up to the PC, Grim Fandango, Battlefield 1942, Medal of Honor, Allied Assault, Call of Duty Ghosts, Xenosaga 2, Space Marine, Prototype, Max Payne, Ground Control 2 for the PC, Halo again, I think that was Halo 4, which it was awful, Disgaea 3, Wolfenstein, Resident Evil 4, Spec Ops: The Line, Front Mission 4.
Spec Ops: The Line. Oh.
Is that good or bad? I've only played it.
That game is excellent at making you feel like shit for the decisions you made.
Is it time to talk about my awesome game library yet?
Yeah, feel free.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I like my game library. Let's see. So, Shadows of Mordor, Hyperdimension Neptunia Rebirth 1, Injustice Gods Among Men, Trine 2, Assassin's Creed Black Flag, Velocity 2X, which is a great game, Dragon's Crown, Child of Light, Final Fantasy XIV, Final Fantasy Tactics, XCOM, Labyrinth Legends, Oddworld, Abe's Odyssey HD, Ratchet and Clank, All for One, Altair Mariu, I can never pronounce it.
Italian Maru.
Yeah. The Apprentice of Arlen, Terraria PS Vita, Conception 2, Demon Gaze, Rainbow Moon, Final Fantasy X HD Remastered, DC Universe.
Oh, Mookie, are you a dev?
I've worked on one of those games. Which one?
Yeah, I'd be interesting to hear that. Yeah.
Let's see. Legend of Heroes, Trails in the Sky, Valkyria Chronicles 1 and 2, MLB The Show 14, 13, 12, and 10, Ratchet and Clank, Monster Hunter Freedoms Unite, Ni no Kuni, Classic Heroes, Ragnarok Odyssey, Plants and Zombies. This is all my PlayStation.
Oh, very nice, Mookie. Very, very nice.
Oh, well, you dice.
Battle.
Are you dice? Oh, tester for EA and Sega. Okay,
Cool.
Okay.
that's awesome. Also, my deepest sympathies go out to you because I know just how bad testing can be.
Let's see, what else? What do I got on my Steam now? I haven't actually looked on my Steam in a very long time. Trying 2, Game Dev Tycoon, Hero Academy, Prison Architect, Team Fortress 2, everybody's got Team Fortress 2. Age of Empires Online is no longer playable. Final Fantasy 11, Star Trek Online, Might and Magic Clash of Heroes, Borderlands 2, Puke, Elder Scrolls Skyrim, all the King's Bounties from The Legend, Crossworlds, Armored Princess, and Warriors of the North, all the Mass Effects that are on the computer, Mass Effects 1 anyways. Heroes of Might and Magic 5, Torchlight 1 and 2, Grim Dawn, Ironclad Tactics, Monaco, Sid Meier, or Civ 5, Kids of a Solar Empire.
Oh, I have that one too.
See, I didn't even get to my Japanese collection here.
No,
I didn't even get anywhere. I didn't even scratch the surface, to be honest.
Oh wait, we got somebody insensitive bastard in the chat.
wants to join. What do you want to talk about?
Yeah.
I'm not an asshole unless you are a feminist and an SJD. We're quite moderate.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're far from obnoxiously crazy.
Here's the question I have, kind of responding to what Mookie just said. Testing has its ups and downs. With The Sims Online, why did The Sims Online never catch on? Because that seems that seems like a great idea.
Well, has that been done? Second Life?
It's been done, but it's not been done on the scale and the money and the scale and the budget that The Sims has.
That's true. Which, by the way, my wife is vastly disappointed in The Sims 4. But anyways, while we wait for Mookie to respond, I do want to talk about literally Woo. I do want to hear Cerberus go on a fucking tirade or tantrum or whatever he's going to go on.
I mean, the Monday Matt's videos pretty much sum up my position. I'm not gonna. I mean, I'm gonna sound tinfoily here, but there is a pattern to this. There is what goes into the weekends usually stays at the top of the news agenda basically for the weekend, and this just seems like a concerted, manufactured effort basically to whenever something is going Gamergate's way, or we're riding a wave basically, they pull out the shittiest, cheapest tactic. Nobody's followed this up yet. Nobody's been and got a police report, and nobody has, decided to confront her. She's now become, person non, grata basically with regards to contact or discussion. The original thing that annoyed me so much was her reaction over fucking memes. How calling memes and when she started a fight as well. It's like when you start a fight with someone and then you start losing, and then you wonder why everybody else is cheering on the other guy basically because you were the dick that started a fight. And you turn around and you look for help, and the only thing you can scream is something completely absurd that will stop that person in their tracks, and this is essentially what this Woo has done. I don't know anything about the Woo. I've seen her around on Twitter occasionally. I think she's one of these people that describes herself openly as a game developer feminist, and I don't know what game she's. Maybe you guys, because obviously, as I said, I don't play indie games. I don't know
I believe
if you.
one.
What game was who is this? I can't remember. Woo, I don't.
Brianna Woo.
Brianna Woo.
I'll take a look and find out if I actually have, because I actually like a good many indie games.
The fuck.
I mean, the whole tactic itself is low, and it shows if it is false, and it shows to what level basically these people will stoop to actually forward this agenda, and it goes back to my sort of hopelessness of how could we possibly win against that when a person uses their family, uses their children, as somebody was shouting, think of the children, and how people instantly equate this to a movement to discredit it, basically, and how people are willing, not to do any investigation, to form an opinion based on harassment. Do we now live in an age, basically, where you're just guilty, you're guilty in the public eye, and you have to assume basically your innocence because there's no way that we can prove it. I don't know why these don't happen more. I mean, to be honest, they could have discredited the movement 100 times, 100-fold. They always have, they could have created sock puppets that there are plenty of sock puppets that have said stupid things. It's just this one says stupid and outrageous things, basically, that are violent.
By the way,
we had that one. Carry on.
There is one game that I can find that she is a part of, and that's Revolution 60, which is a game that's been in development for 3 years for a mobile platform.
Yeah,
and it still hasn't seen the light of day.
I think it's out now.
And about 1,000 people bought it ever since she's been quote unquote doxxed. Here's the thing about literally Wu that, and not just her, everybody who quote unquote gets harassed and doxxed on the other side. 14 hours ago. I expect to talk to the FBI at some point today. Oh, and by the way, actually I added the "oh" and by the way. And I'll still be speaking at New York City Comic Con on Sunday. Like I've been attacked. I'm going to talk to the FBI. Guys, come listen to me talk at the New York City Comic Con. Let me make sure I promote myself.
I've now secured my financial future for X amount of years.
I'm scared of the death threats I've gotten. I'm terrified of the Gamergate blame the victim witch hunt. We're not blaming the victim. We're asking for fucking proof. Because then she goes on to say, Giant Space Cat's financial accounts are currently being targeted by hackers. Yeah, where's your proof? If anyone has contact at Apple Developer Services in regards to asking them to investigate a hacking, I would greatly appreciate it.
All right, guys, 2 minutes. I'll be right back.
Like, there's absolutely no proof of any of the claims she's making. She's just saying it. And everybody's buying it hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah, and this is the most frustrating thing. And this is, I mean, this happened while I was asleep. And the thing that really annoyed me before that, it pales in comparison, but was Eric Kane basically, putting questions forward to Gamergate. Talking about the 10 articles that came out on August the 28th, 29th, and saying how, we still can't prove a conspiracy took place, basically, to orchestrate, the end, or that these people were talking to senior editors and editors were dictating policy, and it's irritating because they've known from the start. They know that they must think we are precious, basically, because they know we can't prove these things. They know we don't have access. The only way to have that kind of access would be to be a fly on the wall, in the office, basically, and to hear the editor just say, take these fuckers down. And Eric Kane knows this, so why he keeps rubbing the salt in the wound, basically, I don't know why.
Because he's got to play the middle ground. He's made well, no, he had a name far before Gamergate, but he's always been the middle ground, and he came out with a very, very pro Gamergate piece that I feel like he felt like he had to follow that up with an anti-Gamergate piece.
I don't think that the conversation though was particularly helpful because it's just like saying, well, we're not going to be able to. I originally waded into it because he was saying that these people are guaranteed freedom of speech. From Leigh Alexander to Ben Katura to whoever, these people are guaranteed freedom of speech. I said, but the freedom of speech is fantastic in the real world, but when it turns into hate speech in the internet world, you can't. There's not the same recrimination. There's not the same basically responsibility that people have in the real world if they get condemned, with hate speech. They get tried basically in the court of public opinion on the internet, but there's no real recrimination for their actions. And I think that that's something that should change, and that Leigh Alexander needs to accept responsibility for what she does actually say. She has to think before she opens her fucking megaphone, basically.
Well, her
And
megaphone's not fucking much of a megaphone anymore.
no, it's not. But it was at one stage, and we let it happen, which is fucking depressing.
All right, I'm gonna add insensitive bastard here. He wants to talk about academia, which means I am totally on board.
Cool. And I just got back. So.
Hey.
Insensitive bastard. Why can't I added him to my circle. There he is.
Oh, are we becoming a talk show now?
Apparently.
I got no problem
Sweet.
with that.
If he wants to talk about academia, I'm there.
Should set up a phone number and have people call in like a radio show and get the wacky sound effects going with a soundboard.
No, you've got that kind of late night, midnight runner voice. You should do that type of thing,
I've been
on the
told
late
that
night.
I have been told that I had a good voice, like Kane said. I think one day was fuck. I didn't know Jerry had. I think it was Kane. They said had a sexy voice, and I'm like, I don't think I do.
Yeah, why haven't you got videos? You could get away with it, man. You could do it.
That is true. I mean, I used to do a little bit of Twitch broadcasting, but I kind of stopped because of school.
I mean, I'm straight. I'd fap to your voice.
I sound like I'm perpetually eating a ham sandwich. And I say that. I've said that on, because my job used to entail a lot of the, phone work, speaking to people over the phone. I definitely have a voice for radio and a face for radio, I feel, basically. But yeah, I really hate my voice. When I play it back, it sounds a lot more squeaky when I play it back as well. But yeah, it does. Yeah.
Hangouts can be a bitch sometimes.
I think it's the years of the years of smoking and destroying my throat with the acid from caffeinated beverages that have given me apparently this deep, sexy voice. I don't know why.
Really,
I'd kill for your voice.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me fucking too. What was I gonna say? Yeah, I just this whole fucking Brianna Wu thing, it irritates the fuck out of me because apparently, from what I understand, the phone number that dropped was her husband's phone number, and the address on the phone number is not the same address as the one on the box. That seems fucking fishy as shit to me.
But nobody's gonna question it because it's. You don't get in on YouTube, you get in on Google and the Hangout, and the YouTube is broadcasting the Google Hangout, insensitive bastard.
Oh, I got the call on my phone. Do I get it? Oh, you gotta go on Hangout. Google Hangout.
Yeah, if you get the Hangouts app, that'll bring it up.
Just go into your Gmail.
I wish I hadn't have taken a nap because the Woo thing was really on my mind. It was really, and then I took a nap and I watched a very crappy horror movie and I fell asleep and I shouldn't have fallen asleep.
Speaking of horror, I want to play Alien Isolation now because I watched Joel and Adam from Rooster Teeth play it, and it looks. No,
I shat my pants.
It looks like Outlast, except in the Alien universe.
It looks far more scarier than that, and I watched one of the Let's Plays and I nearly turned my seat brown.
No, and especially with seeing because they played on the Xbox. Well, they played on the Xbox One. Seeing and knowing the mechanic they have with that, because I don't know if it's the same with every system, but I know with the Xbox One, the mechanic is if you have a Kinect connected, it will you can turn your head and it will kind of if you're in peak mode, you can tilt around corners. but with the Kinect microphone, it can pick up on the noise you're making, and the alien can be directed towards you by the sounds that you're making.
That's really fucking awesome, actually. That is really
Yeah.
fucking cool. And I'm not a horror guy at all. I shit my pants at anything horror.
Right. I mean, if you look at the tweets, just going back to Miss Wu, we've got a free headline for you here. Brianna Wu is the third woman since August to be driven from home by death and rape threats for views on gaming. She hasn't expressed any views on gaming. She just bullied Gamer X.
Yeah.
Gamergate person sending death threats to Brianna Wu will be dealt with by the FBI. This person can't write FBI.
You mean just like it was with Anita Sarkeesian? Because we never saw anything about that. And we know Milo's filed a Freedom of Information Act request to get those. That could take him a while, though.
Yeah, that will probably take them a while. And it probably has... my feeling is it probably has more to do with the bomb threat than anything, but...
Yeah.
who knows if that bomb threat even happened, right? And I feel like a dick saying that, but at this point I feel like I have to question every goddamn thing they say.
Well, Monday, Matt believes that Kevin Dobson and the Kevin Dobson who sent those tweets to Thingy Bob. Who sent those tweets to Anita was essentially the same person who sent them to Brianna Wu.
And I wouldn't doubt it.
And I wouldn't believe that, and I wouldn't go. I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't GNAA or whatever the hell they call themselves.
I'm gonna shove a knife up your cunt. I mean, that's...
I don't understand why people just can't see that this is a third party.
Well,
Or they're
because
so blissfully willing.
They cannot separate GNAA from 4chan.
but they don't even say it's GNAA. They say it's Gamergate.
They say it's, well, that was... I think that was what I meant instead. It was that they can't separate Gamergate from 4chan. And to be fair, 4chan has been known for this in the past.
Yeah, but now they're saying 8chan, right? I had a whole argument with somebody yesterday about how because 8chan is supportive of Gamergate and 8chan, the doxing was posted on 8chan, therefore this was a Gamergate doxing. Anybody can fucking post on a non-board. Anybody in the world. Regardless of their ideological views, political views, hashtags they post on, or the shit they fap to. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It matters.
You know, who do you want to be your waifu? I mean...
It's stupid. And Brianna, and the other thing that nobody is admitting or talking about is Brianna openly admitted she created a sock puppet to fuck with Gamergate. Who's to say it wasn't her?
So she's operating in deception already.
Yes.
You know, who here has an alternate sock puppet account to tweet shit?
I actually don't.
Huh? Who here has tweeted malicious shit?
I haven't.
I can't say I have. But I know
that's three people. There's three people.
That it's been happening. I wholeheartedly acknowledge that it has been, that, you know, it's been happening in Gamergate.
Who's to say it wasn't her?
So
Can you guys hear me?
So she's operating in
we got you.
deception already.
Yes.
And you might want to mute because we're getting some...
Who here has an alternate sock puppet account to tweet shit?
Oh yeah, you need to mute your YouTube.
Yeah. Who here has tweeted malicious shit?
We're getting feedback. I haven't.
I can't say I have.
Hi guys.
But I know
That's three people.
Can you hear me?
That it's been happening. I
Yeah, we need you to mute your YouTube.
That, you know, it's been happening.
Mute your YouTube. Who's to say it wasn't her? I like listening to us, though.
Yeah, already.
Yes.
And you might want to mute because we're getting some...
sock puppet account to tweet shit. Okay.
Oh yeah, you need to mute your YouTube. I muted you for a second until he can until he unmutes or mutes his YouTube. Just so we're not echoing.
Yeah.
But
'Cause
I think Honestly, Miracle of Sound, who I actually like from The Escapist. If I can find this
Are you
tool.
getting feedback now?
No.
Nope.
Nope. I
Can't hear
unmuted
you
you.
guys.
How you doing?
I
Yeah, we need you to mute your YouTube.
We are.
Yep, there it is.
It's back.
Mute your YouTube.
Or is this because it's on my feed?
Let me see. Is he still? um. We'll keep talking. I have him unmuted. So hopefully, I know I struggled with that the first time I did this too. You got to mute your YouTube video.
But yeah, I found the tweets that Miracle of Sound sent out, and I favorited them in my feed and retweeted them out. And it's you can call gamers angry, vicious, whatever, but I've honestly seen far more nasty, abusive shit coming from the media side. Just stop. Are there problems in games? Yes. Is there sexism? Yes. Is insulting and belittling fans going to fix that? No. You're just making it worse.
Agreed. We'll keep talking. I have him unmuted. So hopefully, I know I struggled. There we go. He's muted again. He needs to fix that. I can't hear you if I mute YouTube. Oh, interesting.
Oh, that's weird.
That is really weird.
Is he not talking on a headset?
Yeah, just throw on a pair of headphones if you can.
Yeah, if you have a. It's going to be hard to have a conversation if he's waiting for the video, though.
Yeah, you're gonna be on that
Yeah, because it's about.
delay.
You might need to set up your audio within Hangouts, and I don't actually know how to do that. This is so much worse than Twitch and Hitbox.
Well, yeah, because Hitbox has what, a 30-second delay, I think.
Yeah, it does. It has a delay, and it's quite interesting how the chat can sometimes work. It can actually not post people's posts.
Oh no, Hitbox. Oh, because I know Twitch has within their API they have a source setting, and if you flip it to source, there isn't as much of a delay. I think it's basically instantaneous if you switch it to source, but that takes a lot of bandwidth.
Yeah, that's labor intensive, and
yeah,
Twitch is already pretty labor intensive as it is anyway.
Hangout sucks. So, anyways, we were talking about Woo. What were we talking about, Woo? I don't remember now. I'm wearing headphones.
I don't know. I think most of the salient points have been said, apart from the fact that this is going to take a while to recover on. We basically, every time something like this happens, we take massive steps back, basically, and we have to readdress, refocus, and I think it will get to a stage.
All right, are you here now?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. You're good.
Perfect. Okay. No, what happened is I need to shut off YouTube and just basically switch my settings within Google Hangouts. That's all. I had it set to my speakers rather than my headset.
There we go.
There we go.
It's a pain in the ass. Hangout sucks.
Yeah, I just kind of figured this. It goes back to the old, GIF image where they're trying to feed the baby YouTube and then they slide it in Google Plus. Yeah, that just happened to me.
That's exactly what they did. But you mentioned something that piqued my interest, which is why I said I'll bring you on, is how academic feminism is driving all things driving Gamergate, and you stroked my cock to make things good.
Well, I'm glad to help out, whatever.
Jesus Christ, man.
Man, this is a massive circle jerk now.
That's exactly why I said it. That's something I think everybody here has not been trumpeting, but has understood for a while.
I will say, better than Reddit's circle jerk subreddit. That is all I'm saying.
When I say feminism, there's different types of feminism, right? And just like there's different types of gamers, right? And I think it's ridiculous to just as the SJWs of the world, they're lumping all of us gamers under the same banner that we're all a bunch of misogynistic shitlord. I'm not going to do that to feminists. I think there's two kinds of feminists, really, and it's the left-wing and right-wing feminists. A good example of a right-wing feminist would, in Gamergate circles, is Base Mom or Christina Summers. And then you have the left-wing, which I think is driving, or is the engine that drives gaming journalism. And I mean, look at Digra, however you pronounce it. Look at Game Journals Pro. These people are colluding with these academic feminists, and academia is corrupt to its core, basically. You know what I mean? And you only need to look at what's going on in colleges right now. I mean, leftist feminists are abusing Section 9, at least in the United States. I can't say to England or anywhere else in the world, but to shut down men's sport.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
What?
If you really want to see something that'll piss you off, Google Section 9 sports shutdowns in colleges. You will lose your mind. And what it is they're using quota representations and then taking the amount of money that colleges spend on college programs to shut down men's sporting events. It's mind-blowing.
I don't even want to.
You mean Title IX?
Title 9, excuse me. Yeah, not Section 9. Excuse me.
I don't want to Google that because that'll make my head explode.
But he's not wrong. I've got one from New York Times up.
Read it. Read a good part. Read something that's gonna fuck my mind.
Well, to give us a little bit of context, I'm gonna just go over what Title IX is. And it was and this is from Wikipedia. Long title: An Act to Amend the Higher Education Act of 1965, the Vocational Educational Act of 1963, General Education Provision Act, creating a national foundation for post-secondary National Institute of Education, the Elementary and Secondary Education Act of 1965, Public Law 874, 81st Congress, and related acts. What it was it says, no person in the United States shall, on the basis of sex, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any education program or activity receiving federal financial aid. Basically says that if it's getting federal funding, you cannot exclude anyone, regardless of gender, on the act or on the event.
Define that, though. Right? So does that mean, is that saying that women have to be allowed to participate in men's baseball? Or is that saying you must have women's softball as well?
That is a good question, because from what I'm, just a flat personal interpretation reading it says that if a woman wants to participate in one, she can't be denied because she's a woman.
So how this works out in practice is since they're not going to set up, they don't have the funding to set up, say, women's wrestling teams, they instead just get rid of the men's wrestling teams because of lawsuits by feminist organizations.
I'm going to say this, and I don't mean it, but I'm going to say this anyways. I hope you're lying, right?
Here's the article that I got from the New York Times, and this is something that the University of Delaware is doing, is they've demoted the men's track and cross-country teams to club status because that doesn't require them to satisfy Title IX. If it's a formal team, they have to, but if it's just a club, they don't receive school funding.
Are you serious? So, they're demoting men's sports just to avoid lawsuits?
Yes.
Yep.
If they're not just in Washington, for example, Washington State, where high school wrestling is massively popular, right? I don't know what's with Washingtonians. I don't know, but they're into high school wrestling. There is no college level sponsored wrestling teams in Washington right now. None. Zero. Because of these feminist organizations. And this plays into, and I think this is where gamers in Gamergate are vastly underestimating the opponent we're facing. Games journals are not Anita Sarkeesian and Zoe Quinn. They're fucking idiots in a much larger machine.
Yeah, I think us here realize that. The problem is fixing that machine is the hard problem, right? We can.
The problem is proving this. It would beyond speculation, beyond just a few seminal articles, and proving it to such an extent, to a volume, to say, well, the problem is that if you are seen to be against what would be, say, inclusion, or you're voicing something against something which has been archetypally described as exclusion, then you are on a back foot automatically. But you need evidence, and there's damning and.
Yeah, you said it. You need damning evidence, right? I would venture to say the fact that if high school wrestling is a huge thing in Washington State and there are no college level stuff because of this, that's pretty good evidence. That's not damning evidence, right?
No.
As Jerry just read, right? Demoting a track and field team so they don't, so they don't have to abide by this. It's pretty good evidence.
It's so they don't get their funding cut, because, at least to the track side, because the article kind of went on, said they're adding a women's golf team and stuff like that to them, but they were cutting out, well, they were demoting men's track to where they couldn't receive, or men's track and cross country, because they couldn't receive federal funding. That's a federal law that they have to have a sport to accommodate women. Like, you can have a woman on a football team. I've got no problem if she's going to perform and do that. Yeah.
Exactly. I agree if she's going to perform. The problem is, imagine, this is a scenario that I would imagine probably played out, is this cross-country team, this school couldn't find a woman who wanted to run, right? Like, and that's okay if women don't want to be in track and, a track team with 50 guys, right? That's cool. That's her right. But now the RadFem organization threatens to sue, right? And threatens to get their funding cut. So
well, it didn't look like anyone was suing them. It looked like it was the federal government kind of was pointing a danger of them losing their funding because of it.
Why is the government getting involved in this bullshit?
Because that's
because leftist feminism has absolutely put its sticky paws all over government. I'm not a leftist. I am not a rightist. Okay, there are some things I'm very, very left on. There are some things I'm very, very right on. Right? I would describe myself as a constitutionalist. And the reason I'm telling you this is, like, I don't want it to come out that, or I don't want you guys to think like I'm a Republican. I'm not, right? But there's
no, you shouldn't fear that fact anyway. You shouldn't fear even if you were a Republican, saying this kind of thing. Regardless if you think people are having a bias, you should be just saying this shit.
Well,
shouldn't be afraid.
We're not going to judge you on your political views.
Well, no, what I was getting at is, like, I don't want to come across as, like, hiding an agenda, I guess, is the right way to word it, right? I don't have a political agenda here.
And we don't take everything at face value anyway. This is Gamergate. We look and investigate and form our own opinions. So just carry on, man. Just carry on.
Well, and what I was getting at before I got into that, I guess, is Hillary Clinton is a self-admitted feminist. She's an academic, okay, and she could quite possibly be the next president of the United States, the most powerful person in the world, arguably. To me, it's if it becomes politically viable for the bigger machinery of feminism to, I guess, hammer video games, I
It's
don't
gonna
know.
happen.
I don't know what we'll do in the face of that kind of power. I mean, it's. I know it sounds ridiculous, but 10 years ago, if you said that the government was going to sit there and log your emails, people would have said that's ridiculous. But the fact that it's happening now, what stops them from absolutely trampling video games?
Well, I
and-
would say they tried, right? They tried with Jack
Well,
Thompson.
and then because of the status that video games have now, like in the United States, I think it was in 2010 or 2011, because of Schwarzenegger v. EMA, that video games have. No, I know it was the case. I'm just not sure of the year. Because of Schwarzenegger v. EMA, video games have received protected art status, which leaves them free of federal censorship, unless they are meant to directly incite violence.
Well, and see, the thing is, the problem with these rulings is that it's very, very vague, and it's very open to interpretation, especially in the current political climax, right? Or climate, excuse me.
Climax. Ha.
Yeah. Climax. Freudian slip.
I mean, woo! I mean,
Literally, woo!
but it's important to note that, I mean, simply, you know, I don't know if you guys are American or whatever, but I mean, simply being a right-wing political group is enough for the IRS to target you as a terrorist group. I mean, it's.
I don't think it was that extreme, but it was just, there was obvious manipulation of that stuff.
And
I understand what you're saying, and I actually, I somewhat agree with you, right? I'm hesitant to say because Hillary Clinton's a feminist, and I hate to use this phrase, right? But not all feminists, because Christine Summers, because I make a clear distinction between second wave and third wave and rad femmes, right?
Because I think Clinton was in this second wave of feminism.
well, when I say feminism, I'm talking, you know, I just so we can clear the air. When I say feminism, I'm talking very specifically about the left-wing variety of feminism. Christina Summers, excuse me, is a clear case of a right-wing feminist.
Well, she's actually registered as a Democrat. So, but I understand what you're saying. I just want to make a distinction for the few viewers we have. You're probably not talking political left wing and right wing. When I say Summers is registered as a Democrat.
Okay, or to put it more specifically, at least I hate reading anything. I hate digging into, you know, articles and blogs written by feminists because 90% of it pisses me off. But and a lot of it pisses me off because I'm an egalitarian, right? And I see feminism as a women's superiority movement.
I would actually agree with you on the rad fem side, right? Like on the third wave feminists, you are 100% correct. The second is a different beast altogether, and Summers proves that, right? Base Mom 100% proves that because she's got no problem speaking up and going, what you're doing to men right now is sexism.
But yeah, because here's the differentiation between them all. The first wave was in the early 20th century, which was the movement to get women politically equal, and then the second wave was to get women equal in the other aspects of society. Third wave is to push them into where they're the dominant force in society.
And you're talking about third wave feminists.
Exactly. And when you look at Digra or you look at Games Journal's Pros, who are these people connected to? I mean, Sargon of Akkad or Akkad, I don't know how it's pronounced, made some, if not damning connections, at least what do you call it? What's the word I'm looking for? Circumstantial connections between academic feminists and games journalists.
Let's set the record straight right here, right now. At least three of the people. Well, okay, the other three people on this call have actually done, and one of them done a lot of the research for Sargon, which is Cerberus. But myself and Jerry have done a vast amount of research that Sargon has used in his videos. So we are fully aware of what you're saying.
Right.
To the nth degree.
And to put
Oh, go ahead, sir.
sorry, and to put it in perspective, you sound frightened, and you sound as frightened as the rest of us did when we first started looking into this, and it's not as innocuous. It's not as bad as it seems. Some of it is fairly innocuous. Some of it is a bit of a worry, but we've, through the stuff that we've done, I think we've come to the conclusion that yes, they're pretty much, there, but they're not. They're not in any. Sorry, go on.
It's like Digra wants academic legitimacy, which is fine. Digra can have academic legitimacy. It's the main problem is what are they pushing with that?
And their methods of pushing it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's the fact that people like Mia Consalvo are the head, which is just troubling. It's not, it's not damning evidence against them, but she has her agenda and she has a platform. She's going to push it. But essentially, all Digra wants is legitimacy, but they want it as fast, and they want the hardest route possible. Or they want the easiest route possible to legitimacy.
Yeah, they don't want the meritocracy to take over, right? They don't want, at least in my opinion, people like Mia Consalvo, she doesn't want her work to have to stand up on the merits of its own. As we said earlier, she wants her work to stand up because it's different, and that should be enough. And the problem arises when people like Silverstream Media, literally who Maya Kramer, all these people who have deep connections to the media get involved, and also have deep connections to Digra. That's where the problem arises, in my opinion. It's not so much Digra, per se, it's Digra or Digra, however you say their name. It's how they're choosing to legitimize their message.
Well, and for me, I don't see these as, I'm not trying to say I'm smarter than anyone else, but for me, I see it as I don't see one piece and another piece and another piece like a puzzle. I see a conglomerate of different things working together, and I mean, truth be told, the days where video games are on the same level as Dungeons and Dragons or Magic the Gathering and all that other kind of tabletop games are long gone, and we've built a multi-billion, multinational industry. And I think feminism as a machine is starting to see it as a relevant medium to push their agenda, and games journalists are a symptom of that view.
You're not the only. You can't dismiss something, for instance, like Magic the Gathering. Magic the Gathering is massive, and it is financially viable, and they have tried pushing into Digra's tried pushing into Dungeons and Dragons, but not in the same kind of way, and they've also tried pushing, and there are other concerned parties out there. That are trying to push into different mediums, and I wouldn't have said that otherwise, but today I've seen it again in the sort of hobbies that are outside of gaming that I participate in, and it isn't going away. These issues are now, people are now all over wanting to feel the same way that Digra does. They want to feel welcome, as it were, or that's what they're putting it across as. Basically, they want to feel. I don't know. Somebody finish my sentence because I'm fucking half dead.
Well, I mean, hell, you've got evidence that we've seen of Digra LARPs regularly.
Yeah.
I mean, they want to tackle a lot of issues in gaming, and I get that. I mean, there should be an academic organization behind gaming, and if it is going to be Digra, then well, so be it. I just don't think the people that are in there right now are the good people that need to be in there.
I don't think they stand on their academic pursuits and the way that they go about researching and things like that. It's not credible. It's not scientific. It's not quantifiable. It's hodgepodge,
Yeah,
basically.
it needs to stand up to the
Peer-reviewed process.
yeah, it needs to stand up to the rigors of modern academia.
And real peer review, not the peer review bullshit they push.
And I think what really terrifies me about all this is when I see feminism in action, right? It's about quotas. It's about mandates. It's about, and I understand that's going to be really hard to push on a medium like gaming in terms of federal laws or federal power. However, there's underhanded ways of going about that. I mean, what's to say, 5-10 years down the road, if a game is not inclusive enough and too much about fun, that all games media will just shit on them.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. Here's the funny thing. It's like if they even go into something like Dungeons and Dragons, they're going to automatically fail because that's based on the person that's playing the character.
Yeah, well, that's true too, right?
But Dungeons and Dragons books are written in a female perspective, though.
They
have
are?
to. Yeah,
The
they are now.
be about to the old 3.5 manuals I've got they seem to be written from a neutral perspective.
Oh, I think I'm not sure, but somebody was listing it today that that perspective actually changed in recent editions, basically.
Gotta be with the next.
One of the other games, Malifaux, is written in entirely female.
Which, hey, if they want to do that and the writing's good and it's just explaining the rules, that's cool.
Mm.
I mean, rules are fairly explaining rules are fairly gender neutral.
Mm.
And I'm a big fan of letting them, and to me, I think whenever I sit down and I talk to anti-Gamergate people, they seem to be very anti-capitalist. And to me, video games exist because of capitalism, not in spite of it. And the way they want to paint the picture is that video games existed outside of markets, and I think that's just completely irrational logic. I mean,
well, it is. And I'm probably fairly certain you weren't here when we first started doing this stream, but we talked a lot about this, and a lot about how culture studies within academia was actually founded by Marxists. Like the whole culture studies school of thought was really, I don't want to say founded, but really brought to prominence by very prominent, very, very deep thinking Marxist theorists. So it is very unsurprising to me that those within the game academia would have a Marxist view, just because their curriculum's been shaped by Marxism.
And we're having this conversation. Funnily enough, I actually had to read Lenin this week.
Yeah, it's fresh in your mind, right? But their whole school, their whole curriculum is based around the thought of the cultural hegemony, of the thought of oppression, the thought of privilege, the thought of this, the thought of that, and how do you view a culture through that lens?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's not surprising they would dislike or actually despise capitalism. It pisses me off, but it doesn't surprise me.
Well, and even in Lenin, who is kind of praised for making communism a living governmental organism, the only reason he did it is because that he was sick of the way capitalism happened. Because at the time that he wrote this piece, I think it was his piece Imperialism, Lenin basically talked about that the problem with capitalism is it allows the creation of a monopoly. And a monopoly is what kills capitalism, and therefore communism was the solution to the monopoly, to highly monopoly-driven capitalism.
Well, and Karl Marx got everything wrong. I mean, absolutely everything wrong.
I won't say everything.
No.
That's just because I have a problem with blanket statements. I
No,
actually,
Karl Marx understood that in theory that in practice his stuff wouldn't potentially work because mankind's fallible.
exactly.
Well, what I was getting at is he thought communism would rise from the ashes of capitalism. I don't think he took into account how comfortable capitalism can actually make people.
Well, yeah, which is why I believe he's even said it. If not said it, he's greatly implied it, that he understood it couldn't work because man is fallible. You know what I mean? Man, um, communism
I
doesn't
mean,
work, and I think he gets it just because, or I think he got it. He's not long dead.
I mean,
People are
not everybody is comfortable under capitalism. Let's be under no illusion of that. Capitalism doesn't benefit. It isn't designed to benefit everybody at all. And there are people that will suffer under a capitalist system. But unfortunately, it is the one that we've got. It is, and it's the system. The worst, but you can try and make it fairer, but essentially, it is what it is.
Capitalism is the worst after you've tried everything else.
Let me actually find that piece because I can give you the name of it.
That's actually a good point, right? Capitalism is the worst after you've tried everything else. Capitalism's not perfect. Capitalism has its problems, no doubt. But I look at North Korea, which is, very proud of their communist society. I don't know if that's a good place to be.
Well, no. Well, here's the thing about North Korea. They've changed the name of that. It's no longer communism since communism failed.
Yeah.
Of course,
North Korea is just an autocracy anymore. I mean,
and their constitution pretty much echoes that it's no longer communist. It's the state of Juche.
They've straight up torn down the statues of Lenin. They've straight up torn down the statues of Stalin and Marx and all the the normal capital or communist figureheads, if you will. It's really all about the chems. That's basically all it is.
And funnily enough, there it is. Hang on, I'm gonna actually get it. Just give me one moment.
But yeah, it's why your point rung with me about academia is just because this train of thought is so ingrained in their curriculum that this is going to be a really, really hard battle. You're fighting with people who have had their whole adulthood.
Well, and it's their behavior reflects that of. I hate to be statements, but their behavior is that of communists.
Well,
you don't agree with us, we'll silence you. You want to have a discussion, we're going to silence you, and we're going to ban you, and we're going to shadow ban.
That's more of Stalinist Stalinist communist, which is a totally different beast.
These people are basically equality at any cost, which is at any cost, which is the equality of people they don't, agree with. As you said, you're an egalitarian. Feminism does spring as an arm of egalitarianism, but exists to deal with with female issues. So it can't literally represent, like Emma Watson was trying to say, that isn't feminism. What she was espousing there was egalitarian principles, but trying to change the definition, and that's what they're trying to. That is what you should be more afraid of, is definition changing, basically redefining, basically, because there are so many redefinings out there.
Well, it's precisely their revisionism of history that irritates the hell out of me. I mean, all women in the first world, okay, say what you want about China and all these other places, but women in the first world are granted, are given rights and mechanisms of life because men decided that is the right thing to do. I mean, I hate to put it in that way, but that's how it is. I mean, from big things like women's suffrage down to little things like washing machines. And
but they're not perfect. I mean, women aren't treated equally in parts of the world, right? We do have to acknowledge that. There are parts of the world, there are probably even places in the U.S. that I'm not living in, where women are shat on. right?
And I'm not saying it's a perfect system, right? But to sit there and the way that these feminists talk, they'll equate the United States with, say, Iran, which is, I mean, just fucking mind-bogglingly stupid.
It is. It makes more sense. And I don't know how much research you've done into this. If you haven't done any, or if you have, um, maybe you realize it. But it makes far more sense when you do a lot of research into Marxism and the cultural hegemony and the patriarchy and like all that. Realize these people have had this shit fed to them since they've become an adult, right? From the time they were 18 in college doing game study, this is the shit that's been fed to them. They've had their adulthood shaped by the idea of oppression.
Well,
So,
I would say it starts way before college. I mean, I graduated high school in 1999. I'm showing my age here a little bit. And it's, I mean, even at my age, I mean, I was the post-Columbine graduate, right? And the anti-bullying and everyone's equal and there's no such thing as one better than the other. I mean, that already entered the lexicon before I graduated high school.
but that's a good message, right? Nobody's better than anybody else. That's a good message. The best message is women are better than men.
I'm not saying that's a shitty message, right? But it's how it's implemented is a shitty message, right?
Yeah.
For example, I am not mathematically inclined, okay? And to sit there and call me an equal to somebody who's mathematically inclined is just ridiculously stupid. I mean, I made it past trig by the tips of my fingernails, but I got past trig. Whereas, some of the smartest people in the class, I mean, just slept through it basically. And that's where you get everyone gets a trophy generation.
Well, exactly. I'm a big proponent of equal opportunity, but not equal outcome. Right? People are different. Genders are different. The states you were born and grown up with make you a different person. Those differences need to be celebrated, not diluted.
Exactly, and the way these feminists and these SJWs talk is they not only want equal opportunity, which is pretty much universally true amongst the first world, right? But they also want equal outcome, and the only way you're going to get equal outcome is by resurrecting the USSR.
Well, yeah, I mean, the way you get equal outcome is by communism, but it doesn't quite work. But like I said, I'm a proponent of equal opportunity, not equal outcome, and to reiterate, I'm a proponent of celebrating differences, not stagnating them. Right? Men and women are biologically different. That's okay. More women want to go into teaching than men. That's okay. More men want to go into tech or games than women. That is okay. Right?
I mean, there's nothing wrong with female representation in the slightest. I mean, if women want to come into games, hey, we welcome them with open arms. That just means more awesome games for us in the end.
Exactly. If they don't want to come into games, I don't believe, as I think you're saying, and now I forgot your name, insensitive bastard. I think you're saying we don't have to force it, right? If they don't want to come here, that's okay. They don't have to come here if they don't want to. Why are we forcing them? Why are we throwing them into somewhere they don't want to be?
Exactly. And the way I relate this all to video games is if, I'm okay with market forces dictating that games are more inclusive, right? I have no problems with that. If there's a demand in a market for more inclusive games, then so be it. Have at it. I don't care. If you want to play Candy Crush or Farmville or whatever, it doesn't piss me off in the slightest. But to sit there and say, well, the company that made Assassin's Creed, help me out here.
Ubisoft.
Thank you. I was going to go with Ubisoft. Anyway. Ubisoft, to sit there and shit on Ubisoft because they decided not to include a female character because it was marketably unviable is just insane to me. These developers have been in the business for a long time now. They know exactly what is and isn't marketable. And to sit there and bitch at them because they didn't decide to include something because it's cost a ton of money and B isn't going to give you any kind of return is just insane to me. Like I can't even rationalize it.
Well, I'm just playing through Liberation at the moment, Ass Creed Liberation, and that is a god awful game. It really is. It's not the female character's fault, but it didn't do their attempt at trying to broaden the market any good because it was just a slap together game. It's very disjointed. The plot doesn't really follow any cohesion, and it's just basically was a portable version for the PSP. It just seems they slapped together it from the Assassin's Creed 3 engine. Which is fine. They needed something out in the portable market, and they decided to throw their niche sort of character out there. But that game failed dramatically. So they're going basically on their past experience, even though that past experience was really slightly, it wasn't like a proper AAA release. So their market research is going to be a little bit biased. They could have had a female character in the next Assassin's Creed. I don't think anybody would have batted an eyelid. But the point is that we can't tell stories now of brotherhood is a bit interesting, which is why when people were complaining about the latest Final Fantasy being an all-male cast, that the guy came out and apologized basically about it, but just said he wanted to tell a story of 4 best friends. I mean, and somebody equated the fact, when you've got 4 best friends together when you were kids, did you shoehorn in a female just for the, just to fill the representation quota? Sorry.
I just want to touch on that. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but
no, that's okay.
I am okay with gay characters. I am okay with transsexual characters. I am okay with hell. The headmates and all that other, the ableist and all that other Tumblr bullshit, as long as it's an integral part of the story. I don't want token characters there simply to appease the fucking SJW retards of the world. You know what I mean? Like, it irritates the crap out of me.
Well, and I'm with you, right? Like the organic representation of characters is totally okay. I don't really care, right? Like a lesbian character in Gone Home, even though I despise Gone Home, as Eric Kane called it, a walking simulator, it made sense in that story. I have no problem with that, right? Like in that scenario, that makes a lot of sense, and that's cool. What's not cool is, like you said, shoehorning a female character in just to appease somebody. I don't know about you, but when I was 16 years old, I hung out mainly with men. My circle of friends was men. We got high, we drank. That's what we did. I was a 16-year-old boy, and my view of women at that time were somebody I could stick my thing into, right? I'm not proud of it, but that's how pretty much all teenage boys feel, right? Like a woman is something you can have sex with.
You bigot.
When I was 16, I was probably a terrible bigot. What person at 16 isn't, right? Like that's high school mentality. I like you. You're in my clique, so you're cool. You're not in my clique. Fuck you, right? That's high school.
But are we to be ashamed of that now? Is that these guys wanting to tell a story of 4 guys? Just I mean the unity aspect doesn't really even factor into it because that's just co-op. But to go to the Final Fantasy story of where they've had for the last 3-4 years maybe, Lightning as their premium sales image. They've had a female on the box cover of 3 games now, and then to have a story about 4 guys, and then I saw one of my friends complaining, and I was just like, hang on, come on.
Well,
just because.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
No, you finish your thought.
Well, just because you don't have a male character in the main protagonist slot doesn't mean that you are wanting to tell a story. Your story is of an experience that these 4 friends have had. And why can't you do that without being criticized? You know, why does everything have to tick the box?
Well, exactly. So that's one thing that pisses me off about this whole Final Fantasy thing is they spent 3 games, and you can even go back to Final Fantasy, somewhat Final Fantasy 12, but also Final Fantasy 10 too, right? Where they told
Yeah,
stories.
and Final.
Right, Final Fantasy X-2 was the story of sisterhood between Yuna and, though they probably spin it and say that was Yuna's search for her love, right?
Oh yeah.
Man. But they told that story of sisterhood. Final Fantasy 13, while yes had other proponents to the story, really was in a large part a story of sisterhood between Sarah and Lightning, right? And then 13.2 was the story of Sarah searching for her sister, right? And nobody batted an eye. Gamers, not many like the game, just because they kind of ruined Final Fantasy. But I happen to be a big fan of it, and I didn't bat an eye at all about that sisterhood. In fact, I thought that was an awesome part of the story. You know what I mean? I thought that part of the story was phenomenal. But now all of a sudden they want to tell a story of brotherhood, and that's a problem? Why is it okay to tell a story of sisterhood but not brotherhood? You know what I mean?
Because we've had our time. We've had our time, and now we must be quiet.
I mean, that's what it feels like, right? It feels like we've come to that point where shut up, let the girl speak now. And that's unfair. It's not even the girl, right? Shut up and let somebody who's not a cis white male talk now. That's what it feels like.
And that's the thing, and it's coming at the sake of art. Because, and this statement is what pisses off a lot of that side. It's that just because the story focuses around a male character doesn't make it any less art.
Well, yeah, and that was the other point I was going to bring up. These people, like these SJWs, are saying over and over and over again, why do you not want games to be art? In my response in my head, I don't usually say it on Twitter because I don't really want to get into a shouting match, is if you truly cared about art, you wouldn't be trying to change the artist's vision.
Yeah, you wouldn't be shoving this narrative down their throat. You would let them tell the stories and craft, and you would let them craft the art and write the stories that they want to make. Because if it's all coming out cookie cutter, rubber stamp the same, then guess what? It gets boring.
And it's not art.
It's still art, but it's just shitty art.
Is it art? If everybody just painted Monet or what the fuck's that famous painting?
Monet.
Monet. There you go. If everybody just painted Monet, eventually that stops being fucking art.
Yeah, it just becomes a picture.
I still have a problem with the art games as an art classification because, unlike any other form of art, games actually have a direct user interface to manipulate. Art can be appreciated. Yes, there is a construction, there is fruits of a labor type thing, and there is a message, and there is all that. But fundamentally, art stands on its own, merit basically, and to get anything from a game, you have to have an interaction, you have to have a controller, you have to have a direct, interaction.
Well, and when it comes to that, I kind of take the stance that Extra Credits took. It's that it is possibly the biggest and most radical leap forward in art that can be taken, because now the person observing it has to interact with it, and that is a whole new set of things brought into the medium.
And well,
it's quite. Oh, sorry. It's quite funny because we're reproducing art as well with the art that is created. Which is our world, for instance, Machinima, for instance, or people taking screenshots and things like that. but is that art? And then you get into a broader sort of question, basically. I'm still struggling at the moment to see games as art.
Cerberus, I kind of get where you're going with this. I read somewhere, I can't pretend to pull it up, but something like 80% of movies that are coming out, like silver screen American movies, are actually either remakes or sequels, which is frightening. I mean, I think we're, well, at least Americans, right? I can't pretend to know what's going on in other parts of the world, but at least Americans, art is becoming a very rehashed, very dead thing, and and to sit there and say gaming is immune to that is, I think, incredibly naive.
Hmm.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I do want to tell a story, though. I know Cerberus and Appleman have heard it, but I do want to tell it again anyways because it's kind of relevant. So I'm working on a video game. I'm not going to give the name or anything like that because I don't really care about shamelessly plugging it. When I started working on the game, I had posted my idea on some forums with some ideas, and a small-time publisher reached out to me and wanted to publish my game. All right, cool, and they're pretty much just my marketing arm. But they're very, very well connected within the industry. So I sent them my first playable demo. And in my game, at least my game at that time, it's since evolved far beyond what it started as. But my game at that time had a male character that the main character was a male, but he was a very feminine male, right? He was weak, he was unsure of himself, he was, a very feminine. I say feminine, but he wasn't. What I really mean is he wasn't the prototypical guy in a video game, right? Like he wasn't buff and gung ho and all that, right? And the main villain was a female who happened to be his mother, and she was astronomically evil, right? Like Final Fantasy level evil, gonna destroy the world character. And the very first feedback my publisher got actually no, it was PAX East 2011 or 2012. I don't remember what year now. I'd have to look at the email. Came from Polygon, and their suggestion was I need to switch the characters. The female is too evil, and she needs to be a lead character. She is too evil. You need to tone her down. You need to make her the feminine one. You need to make her the lighthearted one, and you need to make the guy this big evil thing. And I thought, my response at the time was, fuck you, I'm going genderless. And all my characters no longer had any gender. I literally made them all genderless out of spite. But I didn't think much of it. Looking at it now, through this lens of Gamergate, it kind of makes sense, right? They need that woman to be weak. They need that guy to be evil.
Well, yeah, because it pushes their agenda, is what it is. These people do not give a shit. They're gender ideologues, is what they are. They don't give a shit about video games. And none of them do. They care about pushing their agenda. I mean, for Christ's sakes, one of them came out as far as to say video games should no longer be about fun. What the fuck are we talking about? Video games are essentially about entertainment.
Yeah, I have...
You cannot divide video games and fun no more than you can divide Christianity and Jesus Christ.
I can actually divide video games and fun just a little bit with one particular example. Spec Ops: The Line.
Okay.
That game made you feel like an ass for the decision. Like, it made you feel like a shitty human being. That said, I think it is a phenomenal game.
Was it enjoyable, though?
Yeah, that's the thing. It was enjoyable.
So
I don't think. Well,
games have evolved beyond the entertainment, pure theoretical entertainment value. They do try and teach a message, and so some of them are slapdash, and some of them are. I'm really annoyed because something you said, Code, made me want to start another sort of strand of conversation, but I've completely forgotten it because it's fucking 4 o'clock in the morning. Well, actually, now it's 5 o'clock. Yeah, but games aren't purely entertainment anymore, and that's part of the issue. And with it, they're saying that a certain amount of responsibility is imparted into games, because they're teaching messages and things like that.
And I think the problem is coming up is, at least my point of view, I don't mean to speak for all gamers, but I play a video game because I want to have fun. I want to come home from work, grab a beer, play some StarCraft 2, and have a great time, right? Like, I don't want a lecture. I don't want a moral, you know.
But those things happen in. You may not want them, but they will happen in the background, and you will become subconsciously aware of them throughout. You know, depending on what type of game you are playing. For instance, I'm playing LA Noire at the moment, and you know, it's got an undercurrent basically running throughout the entire game. Beyond the mechanics of, you know, solving the crime and having fun, there is a message that is underlying in there. So you can't always escape it. But it happens subconsciously. These people want it to happen consciously, you know, be the forefront of the marketing behind a game, basically.
You know?
And that's where I'm coming from. Like, I agree with you that games do push a message, right? And that's one of the very few things that Anita Sarkeesian is correct about. But it shouldn't be like, who wants to play a game where the primary purpose of the game is to teach you about gender imparity in video games? Like, fucking nobody wants to play that shit.
Well, maybe
except for
somebody
maybe
does.
SJWs.
Maybe somebody does, and that game can exist. It can coexist with all other video games, right?
But it shouldn't be above. It should never be placed on a pedestal above other games.
Exactly, because that game can exist, and somebody maybe somewhere wants to play it. I fucking don't, right? But somebody probably does, and that's fine. It can exist, but it doesn't need to, as Cerberus says, it doesn't need to be placed in an ivory tower. It can exist with everything else. The problem is capitalism in their mind, right? Capitalism says that game can't exist because people don't want to play it. The meritocracy needs to go down because this game can't stand on its own merits. So therefore, it needs to go. That whole structure needs to be torn down, and that's the problem.
And I think this is where the fundamental argument in between Gamergate and everything else is, and it boils down to meritocracy versus feminist fiat, and that's how I view Gamergate. It's
not really feminist fiat. It's meritocracy versus. And Jerry can probably answer this. What is the opposite of meritocracy?
Opposite of meritocracy. I actually don't know, but I know the concept of what you're saying.
I'm actually going to Google it because it's not feminism per se.
And when I say feminism, I don't mean feminism in dictionary context, right? Like, I'm talking about feminism as a political construct, as a Marxist construct, and Christina Summers aside, largely third wave feminism is a Marxist construct.
Oh, here we go again, ladies and gentlemen.
Who is Doc?
We've got another false flag tweet attack on Anita Sarkeesian happening right now.
Oh boy, let me take a look.
Fucking
feminist frequency. I will drink your blood after kill you by your vagina. What?
That's the same exact thing that happened before. They need new bots.
Yeah, well, this is getting to where the point where they have fucking hate bots just tweeting random shit at people.
Yeah, same shit. That's the same exact thing they said to her last time. Gonna drink her blood from her.
Yeah, it's the most mangled.
It goes to show what these people, our opponents, actually have. They have no substance. All they have is their ad hominem attacks, their stupid bots, all their bullshit. Whereas gamers, in large, there's a few assholes. Let me tell you a secret. There's an asshole in every single group you can fucking name, right? You go to Catholic Church, there's assholes there. You go to Baptist Church, there's assholes there. You go to Congress, which is completely filled with assholes. You go,
I go to work. There's assholes there.
Exactly.
Yeah. I go out on the street. There's assholes there.
Hey,
you
you
know,
know what? If I stand up, I can look at my asshole.
Yeah,
but you
exactly.
look at the
Yeah.
overall message of what Gamergate is, and I followed Twitter for at least the last 2 months or 2.5 or 2 months to a month and a half that this has been going on, right? And you see the same message. We want games to succeed because of their merits, not because of some bullshit inclusivity. Fuck that word.
Inclusivity. Yeah, but the thing is, what you're saying there, and I can see that is just one of a myriad of messages. Gamergate is quite nebulous, and that is our downfall and our greatest thing at the same time. Because they were quite easy to pick apart because not everybody's arguments align basically into a thing, which is beautiful, but it's not very good for pressing this
Yeah.
forward.
It's
And,
our
why-
greatest, it's our greatest downfall and our greatest strength because we can't have sort of a common narrative thread.
I think one of the
Hmm.
beautiful things about Gamergate is that it's different for each gamer, right? Like, I think that's wonderful. It brings because unlike the SJW movement where they have, an issue or two that they push, gamers on the other hand have banded together under and it doesn't matter what kind of gamer you are. Like, there are left wing gamers that I think are on spot on with their arguments, right?
But I think we should acknowledge that there's not two parties at war here. It's not just the SJWs as we put it in brackets. There is clearly a third party that is setting both sides.
Just wants to watch the world burn.
Pretty much, yeah. We can't always attribute. I think we've got to move away from always attributing. I mean, I've seen some of the shit that the SJW say, and it is deplorable. But we can't not acknowledge that there's probably a third party here poking fun in it, and that both sides haven't noticed that because they're too mired in their own vitriol. It's fucking stupid.
Well,
You
I
know,
mean,
Actually, I want to interject here real quick, just because I found two things very fascinating. So I found two consensus, which really doesn't make them consensuses, on the opposite of meritocracy. One is corruption. Interesting, huh?
yeah.
The other is aristocracy.
Hmm.
The opposite of meritocracy.
oh, the irony is just flowing through my earphones right now.
Exactly, right? So, I mean, they want to bring down meritocracy. They don't think that works.
God, just look at Jonathan McIntosh's Twitter feed if he wants to bring the meritocracy down.
Then what's the answer? Corruption? Aristocracy? You're going to hold people in power. You're going to create nobility, and they're going to be the ones that have... Who the fuck's that nobility? Is it you?
It's not nobility. It doesn't have to be along those lines, but it's a clique. It's putting one clique in
Power.
whose views are more. Yeah,
The aristocracy will be third wave feminism.
Well, it'll be the SJWs. I don't want to say third wave feminism because they also push ableism and quote unquote fat shaming, and right, they have more to their... They have more bags of tricks than just women. It's just women right now are the hot button.
I think you're shortchanging third wave feminism. Third wave feminism is about fat shaming or what do they call it? Body positivity. They're also about, including, women that are, or not just women, but I mean all people that are disabled into their message. Like, they're just trying to grab every single minority they can and plop it into third wave feminism to give it more social power.
Well, they've redefined, as we said earlier, they've redefined what feminism means. Because what you just said, and while I agree with you, what you just said is really not feminism, right? Feminism is about rights for women, and making women equal, not making men who are fat equal. You know what I mean?
Well, and that goes into my belief that, like, and this is my own personal opinion. This does not reflect Gamergate or whatever, but I see third wave feminism as, God, where was I going with this? Give me a second. it's a power play to grab like all these different people, and it's ultimately about female superiority, and that's why I call it a female superiority movement. You do not create equality by lifting the entire scale.
Well, exactly. Which goes back to what I've always said, which is I'll never support anything that places burning down over raising up, right? This whole issue just pisses me off, because I am also in some ways an egalitarian, or however you pronounce that, right? But I have a problem with sameness of outcome. I am all about equality of opportunity. I am also all about celebrating the differences in people, giving them those equal opportunities, but they can still be different, and you can celebrate those differences. Because I tell you what, if my wife was like every other woman out on this planet, I wouldn't be fucking happy, right? If my wife had the same size boobs as everybody else, or the same ass as everybody else, that would just be boring.
Sex negative versus a sex positive movement. I mean, the second wave feminism was a very sex positive movement, while third wave is very sex negative.
Yeah, it feels like we live in 1980 or 1890 again, right? Like, sex is this big terrible thing that I don't know.
Well, and Sarkon, he's one of my favorite YouTubers, and I understand you guys have done a lot of work for him, but he made a really fantastic point in one of his videos where he was showing all these college-age girls, pissing in sinks and shit, and then he made the point, would these pictures exist 50 years ago? And then he went on to say that feminism has made, the average, Western woman unmarriageable. And because what guy in his right mind is going to marry a woman that is, takes pictures of her pissing in the sink?
I'm kidding, by the way. I'm kidding.
I mean, it's not like I haven't pissed in a sink before. I've been drunk. I've been drunk enough to do that twice.
I've never taken a picture of myself pissing in the sink.
No, I've never done the picture part.
My army buddy once told me there were two types of people in this world. There are those that piss in their sinks, and those that lie about pissing in their sinks.
Exactly.
And I fully agree with his stance.
I've heard that metaphor another way, and it's not the sink, but it's the shower.
Oh, who doesn't shower?
Oh, my ex told me off for pissing in the shower once. And I was just like, it's sterile, come on.
It's going down the drain just like it does in the toilet.
I know, she freaked out.
Can I want to tell this story, which has nothing, is in absolutely no way related, but only tangentially. I must have been about 18 at the time, and I just got over a night with somebody that you would only do things with when you were drunk, is maybe the right way to put it.
Oh, been there before.
And
Yeah.
I had woken up next to her at about 2 o'clock in the morning from being passed out for maybe an hour or two after doing things with her. And I was disgusted. So I grabbed my buddy and we left. And, I was hungry because I was drinking and I had just woken up from being passed out for a couple hours. So we went to Burger King. And my buddy looks at me and he goes, "You probably want to clean yourself off." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, she's kind of known around these parts for being busy." And I'm like, "Oh, fuck." So I go into the Burger King bathroom and stick my junk in the sink and start scrubbing it. And this little old Asian guy, poor guy, walks right in on me and kind of gives me this funny look as I'm scrubbing my junk in the sink. So I look at him and I go, "You've never made a mistake so bad that you got to scrub your dick in the sink?" And he just kind of laughed and took a leak and left.
I can successfully say in 26 years I have never made that big of a mistake.
I've made a mistake big enough that I've had to scrub my dick in a Burger King sink.
Well, your first problem there was you went to a Burger King bathroom. You should have went to a Wendy's. Their bathrooms are much nicer.
Yeah.
I was in the U.S. Navy for 11 years. I've made plenty of those kinds of mistakes.
Yeah, being in the
Yeah,
Navy,
dude. You're among friends. I'm ex Air Force, and I've done stuff like that before, but just never to the scrubbing my dick in a sink level.
In the Navy, what is
Apparently, you've never been to Singapore.
No, I didn't. No, I haven't. Been to Thailand, but never made that much of a mistake.
serious question? In the Navy, what is one lower than the captain of a aircraft carrier?
Well, a captain of an aircraft carrier is I hate
No,
to
what's
say
below
captain,
that?
but I mean, are you talking like positional rank or authoritative rank?
Authoritative rank.
Well, that would be his what was the terminology they used? I can't remember.
Executive officer, isn't it?
Executive officer. Thank you. You had CO and an XO, and XO was executive officer. Below him was the command master chief, and etc.
What ship were you on? Because my uncle was actually, I believe, an XO, which is why I asked, because I thought his rank was XO. Of the USS Baltimore.
Well, okay, XO is a positional authority. It's not a rank.
Well, okay, that's what I meant. Because I believe he was, before he retired, the XO of the USS Baltimore, but I am not positive if that's the right ship name. And
Well,
I'm not positive. He was second in command. He basically ran the ship outside of the captain.
I was an aviation machinist, mate. I worked on F-18s. I was on the which are fighter jets, which was and the only ships I have been on are obviously carriers because
I think it's the
aviation
Baltimore.
machinist mates are not on a carrier are absolutely fucking worthless. I was I was on the USS Abraham Lincoln. I was on the USS Constellation. I was on the USS Kitty Hawk. The USS Enterprise. I was on her last tour.
I don't know the ship name because it's obviously not the Baltimore. All I know is its home port is Baltimore. I don't know the ship name now.
Well, it was probably a small boy. In Navy terms, that means nothing. That's a small boy is a ship. That's not a submarine.
No, it's not a submarine. I thought it was an aircraft carrier, but maybe it's not.
Yeah, it's not an aircraft carrier. At least there's no aircraft carrier named the Baltimore.
No, it's not the Baltimore. I'm looking up the Baltimore. It's definitely not the Baltimore. But I do know it was housed in Baltimore. That was the port.
There's no carriers that I'm aware of that are
And it maybe isn't a
birthed in Baltimore.
All
obviously,
this talk is just making me want to start singing in the Navy.
as you can tell, I'm not very close to my uncle.
We did those jokes all the time when the Navy would show up for like a Red Flag Alaska exercise.
I'm actually interested in hearing him sing in the Navy.
So am I.
I wouldn't. My voice is terrible.
Well, let's hear it, Cerberus. Get it done.
No.
Anyways, let's go back to Gamergate. What do we want to talk about? So there's now a new attack on Anita, huh?
Well, there appeared to be. I don't. It doesn't appear to have gained much traction. It's just everyone's shouting at the moment. Ignore it. It will go away.
Who wants to bet she tweets about her Patreon or her Kickstarter account in the next 24 hours?
I would say within the next 48 hours she will pimp it.
In a while, I wonder how long it will take before somebody shuts down the hashtag.
Or Kotaku will wait 6 weeks and then report on it.
Yeah, or that.
6 weeks? How about 6 months?
6 months, yeah, excuse me. I meant to say months.
Can Twitter actually ban a hashtag?
No, I don't think they can.
What sort of restrictions can they actually do on social media?
I only think they can ban users for harassment, and that's self-initiated. They don't ban people automatically unless the reason
Thunderfoot would disagree with you.
Well, here's the thing. What happened with Thunderfoot is so many people reported him at once that Twitter automatically shut his account. Because that's how their API works. If there's a flood of reports, they automatically shut that person's account off until they can investigate it. And once they're done with the investigation, they can flip it back open.
And just for the record, I think Thunderfoot is easily one of the most intelligent people on YouTube. Just saying.
He is, but sometimes he's intelligent in his methodological approach to videos and things like that. He hasn't been intelligent in the way that he has um, become gone from a talking head to exposing himself, his real life sort of persona, because the damaging after effects could be felt that he could lose his job. You know, there's having your opinions and your viewpoints, but there's also protecting your, privacy, especially and your real world.
Well, in Thunderfoot's case, he's a scientist, and if no other field, meritocracy rules the roost in science.
It can do, yes, but there's also public perception of somebody's work as well. Oh, and we've also had plenty of discussions on how they're trying to, cram in SJW logic into science, mathematics, and other things like that. So,
don't even get me started on feminist fucking sciences. Oh, that's a bad thing to get me going on. I mean, how, like, I'll just simply state this. Science is, and I'm not pretending to be a scientist. I'm not trained in the sciences, but my perception of the sciences are basically this: it either is or isn't. And if you're going to claim something is, you need phenomenal amount of proof, right? And where I'm going with this is when you sit there and say, like, feminist biology. Well, there is no feminist view on biology. There is biology, and then there's not biology.
Well, that one was an interesting thing to tackle because I actually looked at it, and it was they wanted to examine how some of females' research had been basically taken and co-opted either as a man's research or how it's been shut out altogether, which is, that's okay, but that's not, like you're saying, still that's not a science. If anything, that's in the social sciences in history.
And that's exactly my point. It has nothing to do with biology. It has everything to do with, the way biology has been in its history. And I'm not saying, and I'm not going to be an idiot and say that, well, women were shit on in history and, in the history of science. That's obviously the case. But to sit there and claim that such a thing, that feminist biology exists, is just ridiculous to me. Biology exists. Nothing else exists in terms of life sciences.
Can I just add something to this conversation real quick? Adam Baldwin right now is fucking killing it on Twitter. He is fucking killing it. Are you guys reading his tweets?
I can bring him up.
I made the shameless plug and said, dude, you're killing it right now. Want to come talk on a stream with 5 viewers? I know he doesn't want to. I told him I was only half serious. But still, he is fucking just laying into people. Camera lady said, I'm more concerned with the ridiculousness of Space Cat Gal leaving her house due to shit said on the internet. And he posted a picture of how to respond to death threats and said they're not following best practices. He's laying into Hillary Clinton. He's just going on a fucking tantrum.
Well, and you know what? I never thought if you had told me 3 months ago that the guy I know on Independence Day is going to be the herald of Gamergate, I wouldn't have believed you.
Was Adam Baldwin in Independence Day?
Yeah, he was. He's been in pretty much everything.
Yeah, he was in Independence Day. He was in Mass Effect 3. Obviously, he was in Firefly, and he was in Full Metal Jacket.
He was in the X-Files. He's been in, all type of.
He's been in more than Alec has.
You remember the scene where they asked if that glass is bulletproof, and then they waxed the alien?
Oh, yep.
Oh, yeah, he was the Secret Service agent. That's
right.
right.
He was the Secret Service agent, said, no, sir, and they opened fire on the alien.
That guy was a better president than your current one.
He's just fucking killing it on Twitter right now.
Actually, no, that's unfair. I like Obama, but for different reasons.
I can't stand Obama, but whatever.
I think some of the stuff he's done is shitty, but overall, he's been an okay president.
You know what really turned? You want to know what turned me off on Obama is when he started using terms like ableism. Okay, that's when I was like, "Fuck this dude! I'm done with you."
So here's my view. I'm not a big Obama fan, and I was not a big Obama fan when he started running. He soured me when a lot of his message screamed more Van Wilder standing on the stage, just shouting, right, like riling the troops, saying Bush sucks, right, with very little substance. And he furthered my sour when he went MIA for 3 months to do a media tour about how he was the first black president. Like that's somehow important to what he's going to do as president.
Well, I will say this: that was a big thing just for America, period. Which I can understand them playing the hype. Well, they were playing up the hype with it, and that's fine. If they want to play up the hype, let them play up the hype.
But he had bigger issues to worry about.
Which is true, yeah.
He is the president of the United States, and I will support him, whether I agree or disagree with him, just because he's the president of the country I live in.
Well, see, I'm a huge fan. I don't care who the president is. You know, like I would say, if I were to classify myself as in a political party, right? I consider myself a constitutionalist, right? And everything Obama has done is just piss poor in the litmus test of the Constitution, and that's my view on it.
Careful calling yourself a constitutionalist. You're going to be labeled a Tea Party birther.
Oh, I know. I'm such a birther. I think the whole birther movement is equally ridiculous as, the SJW thing right now. It's, to me, where Obama comes from is irrelevant. It's him impeding on privacy that irritates me. That he can issue death warrants without a trial that irritates the shit out of me.
Yeah. I am trying to keep this Gamergate and less political, just because politics are always.
Yeah. I'm with you.
I actually think it's about time to call it for the night because we've been doing this for about 3 hours.
Yeah, it's 12:30.
Well, thank you for bringing me on, guys. I super appreciate it.
Oh, not a problem.
No problem, man.
No problems, dude.
It was a lot of fun. Jerry and Cerberus, when are we doing this again? Ooh, it's cold out here, and I don't have the cricket, so this lost its campfire tale.
Well,
fine.
In the future, if you want another voice, feel free to shoot me a invite, and I'll come and join you guys anytime.
Definitely. Thanks for joining. It was fun.
Absolutely. Have a good night, guys.
Different voice.
Good night.
Good night.
Yeah, I'm sorry I called everyone together very, but we slightly bigger audience tonight. I mean, historically, you guys have had 12. I think we were up to 8 or 9 at one point. So
yeah.
So I think it's a good slot. It's Saturday by the looks of it, which is weird. Yes, I think people would be out, but it's up to you guys when you want to redo it. I mean,
I do like twice a week.
I do like the twice a week, especially Wednesday, Saturday. I think is the best one. So Wednesday again at 8:30.
Yeah, it sounds good.
8:30? No, 9.
9. That's fine. Okay.
I usually have a student at 8:30. I did not last week.
Okay.
That's fine.
Yeah, 9.
One thing as well. I might actually follow this. I might actually codify what I was going to say about the Brianna Wu thing, because unless somebody manages on Twitter to eloquently vocalize what I wanted to say, and because it really did hack me off, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of these death threat things do, because it's the way that people take them for granted. Like, have you been on the internet for years?
We also need to kind of dig and find out if this is just a death threat bot.
I don't know how you would find that out, but I seriously think it might be.
Because they're so eerily similar to the same threats that Sarkeesian was getting that it's just weird. It just doesn't sit well.
It doesn't. But it's an easy tactic, and these people are so afraid of, or well, death is the ultimate thing, basically. Um, I always joked that the only way. I mean, remember when they tried to peg that suicide of a trans uh, guy on Gamergate? It wasn't too long ago. Um, but that came to nothing very quickly, thank God, because that would have been awful. But the ultimate end game to get us all to shut up would be somebody getting killed. So I couldn't, you know, they use death like a massive tactic, basically, because it would be it's so hard to refute that. Then, once this crosses the boundaries from the internet into reality, with proper law, then, you know, then they can shut it down.
So I'm gonna plug this real quick. Brandon from Niche Gamer is going to be running this piece from a SJW that has sort of swallowed a red pill, slamming SJWs as an op-ed piece tomorrow. These guys should definitely keep an eye out for it because it is a phenomenal piece, talking about pretty much everything with the SJW logic from the mouth of an SJW.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I mean, could you ever, just one last sort of thing, could you guys ever see it get into that stage, basically, where, these death threats do become real, where someone tries to carry them out in the name of God knows what?
My cynical view on this, and maybe it's fucked up, but my cynical view is I could see somebody pretending to be killed and just totally disappear. And then people like Ian Miles Chong playing it off as somebody being killed. I don't know if anybody would actually escalate it to death over something as, I don't want to say as stupid, but over something like Gamergate.
Yeah, I don't see it going to the extreme like that.
No, I don't personally myself, but I wouldn't be, no surprises, pretty much, because I've seen a lot of things happen on this thing that I wouldn't have imagined of it,
Well, and to extend that question, do you think you could see literal physical harm coming to someone? Maybe not death, but...
Well, you would have to define physical harm. Well, I guess you wouldn't. Physical is fairly clean. But we do know people have lost their jobs already over this.
True, but I'm talking more along the strain of, the death. If it's a death threat, then what is if that is a legitimate thing, then what is to stop someone from, say, going out and punching someone in the face over it, like that kind of physical harm?
What, like walking up at like a conference or a game show and just lamping someone?
Lamping someone, yeah.
I could see somebody doing that.
I think I could too.
I hope it doesn't go to like the PETA method where we start spray painting #Gamergate on bad games.
No, because we're quite lazy.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the thing. The SJWs, they can be quite relentless if they want to be. We're actually just quite,
lazy.
If it doesn't happen in front of the keyboard, it ain't worth it,
Yeah, because we tried the protest at PAX, and well, look how well that went. Granted, that was a good idea. It just never got traction.
That would have been a great idea. It would have been.
And then again, nobody showed up to Zoe Quinn's panel either.
Yeah, but she's had plenty of PR exercise in getting that off the ground. This article's this wins my shit article of the week award though. So I'm just going to post this in the chat for people to.
Well, you can't really do a link in the YouTube chat. You can in the Hangout chat.
Yeah, I'm putting it just in the Hangout chat. But the guy at least at the bottom says, yeah, I gave Feminist Frequency $5, and I'm friends with Zoe Quinn on Twitter at the bottom as disclosure. But it's just such a non-article, is that? Oh, sorry, it's all his articles on the top. It's the top one. Serious question: If you are concerned about journalistic ethics, why are you part of Gamergate?
That goes back to fucking John McIntosh's stupid goddamn picture with the fucking camo controller.
Mm.
Ah, it pisses me off.
And he's a special snowflake.
He is. And you know what? I know we were trying to wrap this up, but you know what really bothers me as a parent? I have 2 fucking kids inside. And I don't care if this makes me sound like a bad parent, but my 2 kids are only special snowflakes to me and my wife.
No, that's what they're supposed to be.
To anybody else. And the sooner they realize that, the sooner they can fucking get on with succeeding in their life.
Yeah.
They're more goddamn important than anybody. To me, they are, because they're my children. But
lesson number 1 to parents: don't be afraid to let your kids fail.
Exactly.
At some things.
Lesson number 2: just let them grow some thick skin.
You know what? I let my daughter. I mean, my son's only 5 months old today, so there's not much he can fail at yet. But I let my daughter fail at everything before I help her. You know, when she fell down the stairs 2-3 times before I would help her get up. I mean, not far enough to get hurt. You know what I mean? But
Just miss that last step and just trip.
exactly. Or can't pull herself up when she was crawling. You know what I mean? Things like that. They've got to be able to fail. Because if you never allow yourself to fail, you're never going to succeed in this world, and you're going to do shit like the SJWs.
Well, I think a lot of parents then have got a lot to answer for the shit that they've created that's currently posting on Twitter at the moment. You know,
I would agree.
I mean, seriously, grow some thicker skin if things upset you, back away. I mean, that's why that whole Liana thing was mad as biscuits as well.
And that got
never mind.
taken out of context too, which is a whole other issue.
What?
Mm.
The Liana K thing.
Which one? There's been a lot with her.
The give a 7 over an 8, or give a 7.5 over 8.
Was it, though? Because what I read is she said if I was going to give somebody a 7.5 and they would get a bonus for an 8, I'm going to bump it up to an 8.
True.
Is that taken out of context?
I may need to reread the whole conversation about that because Ralph was getting called out for something about that. Like, he left the context of that out when he did his article.
Doesn't surprise me. To me, that's just a slippery slope, right? Because if you would do it, if you get rid of the 0.5s and it's just 7 and 8, would you bump them up from a 7 if they get a bonus with an 8? How about a 6? How about a 5? When do you stop bumping them up? You know what I mean?
Mm.
I don't know. But anyways, we should probably wrap. I have a 2-hour drive to make in the morning.
Yeah. All right. So for me, Jerry, you can follow me on Twitter at Dropping Plates. I'm usually pretty frequent on there.
I'm Code Grit on Twitter at Code Grit. I'm usually frequent, so I will be less so tomorrow, but I am usually frequent.
And I'm a big useless sack of shit. And you can follow me at Curbs 101, and I have a Patreon now, motherfuckers.
Are you going to plug it?
No, because it's a bit of an experiment. I want people to try and find it, and if they want to support it, they can. It's just I mainly set it up because I think I'm going to be supporting a couple of people. But I just thought I'd try and pimp some of my stuff on there at some point.
Gotcha.
Right. So Wednesday,
9 p.m. Eastern Time.
Yep.
We'll do another recap and just keep this shit over.
Do midweek madness.
I think to be honest, I think this week's gonna go. I think Monday's gonna be interesting.
Well, I think we're gonna get a fuck ton of articles on Monday.
Yeah. I want to see where this goes, and I want to see, I'm surprised Adam Baldwin's going at it, but there we go. That's pretty good.
Yeah, he's back.
Mm-hmm.
So, but all right, I am fucking.
All right, no problems.
I am astronomically tired. I'm sure Bruce is too. So.
Yeah, it's 5:43. Right, I'm going to bed. All right, take care, everybody.
Well, Wednesday.
Yep. Wednesday.
Yep.
All right.
See you guys
Wednesday.
then.
See you guys.
See you later.
Everybody. All right, bye guys.
Bye bye.
I gotta end this call now. Oop, there we go.